Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 8th annual New York Fathering Conference. And we thank you all for being a part of this important conversation. My name is Frank Williams, and I'm part of the New York Fathering Committee. As I mentioned, this is our 8th conference, and this committee of men and women have been engaged in bringing this conference to you. And our conference theme this evening is Fathers and Families Building Safe, Healthy, and Thriving Communities Together, Addressing and Ending Youth Violence in Our Communities. And we know that youth violence is a public health concern. It's a problem in towns and cities and villages. It's a concern near and far. And so we have come together not only to address the problem, but to look for solutions. What can we do to remedy this concern? It's a problem that affects young and old, and even on yesterday, the issue of UVA, and then later the young people in Iowa. If we open the newspaper, if we look at the 6 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news, the 11 o'clock news, we hear this plague, this problem. So our conversation this evening is a conversation to come up with strategies and solutions to respond to what we see on a daily basis. It's happening all around us. It's happening in every state throughout this nation. And so that's our work this evening. How do we find best practices and strategies to deal with this issue? So I am honored to be with you this evening. I want to introduce to you our mayor, Mayor Thomas Roach, who will bring greetings. And following our mayor, we'll have our County Executive George Latimer. Mayor Roach, welcome.
Well, thank you, Frank, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for being part of this important event. I have two boys. One is actually now a teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, and the other is in college. So my role has shifted, but I think it's always the same, which is to make sure that the young people in your life know that they're cared for, that they're loved, and to try and behave in a way that you're comfortable with them modeling your behavior. I think most of us that are dads look back and think about all the things we could have done differently. But I think this type of program where we talk to people about the experiences that others have had in parenting and the importance of it is vital. So I thank everyone who's involved for participating. And I thank everyone who put this together. And normally I'd be greeting you to White Plains, but we're virtual. We're in the virtual world. So, but virtually, I welcome you to White Plains, because normally we'd be in White Plains at the county center, which is the premises that has served so many different roles. And I'm going to now hand over to our county executive, who's responsible for that building and so much more, my friend George Latimer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a pleasure to work in White Plains, even if I don't live in White Plains, but we see the great work that Frank Williams and the White Plains Youth Bureau does on an ongoing basis. And we really appreciate pulling this group together again for the 8th annual time. I want to shout out for Dr. Damia Harris Madden, who heads up our county youth bureau, and she's done an outstanding job. We're very happy to have her leadership on the county level, because the county wants to be a good partner to the localities as well as to the state on these issues. You know, when I think of fatherhood, I don't think of my role as a dad, but I think more of my father's role as a dad. And of course, it's a different generation. He grew up during the Depression. And I remember once he was in my grill for some stupid thing I might have said or done. And he said to me, "Let me tell you, I'm not your friend, I'm your father." And, when I remember him telling me that, you might have had the same father if you heard the same thing. And I recognize that through many of my years of growing up, younger, particularly when I went through those puberty years, I was angry with my dad. He was a tough guy. He didn't cut any slack. And I saw him treat my sister with a lot of sensitivity, but me, he was tough on. And I was a pretty good kid, but, I was a kid. I did stupid things, if not mean-spirited things. And I recognize now, without the benefit of being able to tell him so, what a good father he was to me, and how important it was growing up where I did in the south side of Mount Vernon, that I had a father in my life who could be a role model, a man I looked up to. And I will tell you, my father spent his life, his work life as maintenance man, head of maintenance at Beach Point Club. I'm county executive. I don't know if I'm half the man that my father was, given the things he accomplished from nothing to something. I grew up in his house. I never lacked for a meal. He managed to put me through college, and he did wonderful things for me. And then I realized I have been fortunate to have a father in my life who was that way, and not everybody has that. Not every young man has it. Not every young girl has it. In order for them to have the best opportunity in life, ideally you have a mother and a father both who can help you through, can role model for you things. And if circumstances haven't provided that, then we in the society at large have to recognize that and do whatever we can in loco parentis. And that's what we try to do at the county, and that's what we try to do in White Plains. We do it imperfectly, but we do it out of love, because we want as many of these young people to grow up and be good, functioning adults, good citizens, good parents of their own. And Frank, what you're doing by bringing us together to talk about fatherhood is exactly what we need to do. Thank you for your leadership, and we hope that we can be helpful to you in the days to come.
Thank you. And thank you, County Executive George Latimer and our mayor. I think that when we look at Westchester County and all of our partners, and I see that Dr. Damie is here, and I know that she's going to be leaving shortly, but we do want to give her an opportunity after Senator Cousins and Senator Shelley Mayer, and we'll have Leonard Townsend and Alfonso Nichols. I know that she has a conflict. She's going to have to get up, but one of her staff will pick up after she jets off. But Senator, a great Senator, Andrea Stewart Cousins, is here to weigh in on this important conversation. And I know that her eyes are larger than ours because she sees this from the fullness of our state, the state of New York, looking at our communities near and far in terms of the health of our communities. So good evening, Senator Shelley. Good evening, Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins. We welcome you. We thank you for your leadership. We thank you for your support. And we're glad to have you here with us this evening.
Thank you, Frank. And thank you to all of my colleagues, Mayor Roach and the county executive, and all of the great fathers, and of course, great Dr. Harris. And I know you're going to be talking with my friend Erica Ford, who I respect so much. And you know, we have on the state level the SNUG program, which is guns spelled backwards, and it is one of the many things we do to try and engage young people before, you know, something terrible happens, to make sure that there's alternatives, and they know that. I was listening to both Tom and George, and I think in this group, I had the opportunity to talk about my great dad and how meaningful it was that he was just like the best person ever. You know, I'm definitely a girl dad or daddy's girl or whatever, but it was interesting. My brother had a different experience with my father. He had always wanted my father to be this macho guy that he saw on TV, or he wanted him to be able to throw a football at him and to do things that he thought fathers would do. And it wasn't until he matured and my father, in his waning years, I had took care of my mom, and my brother had care of my dad, and that my brother understood what a great man my father was. He was a World War II veteran, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, did amazing things. And the reason why he couldn't play football is because he was trying to figure out with his 2 to 3 jobs how to keep us clothed and housed in a world that did not accept my father. And it was then that my brother understood the greatness of this man. And then you fast forward to today, and there's just so few models, especially for Black and brown men, of incredible fatherhood. And I was coming back from a conference and saw a young Black father holding his baby girl, maybe 4 months old, and she was as secure as she could be, and he was as loving as it could be. And I was watching myself think about this picture and why, it was extraordinary. And it wasn't because I think that's how most fathers feel about their kids, but it's the images that aren't there, especially reinforcing for men of color, certainly Black men, the fatherhood in these most positive ways. So this gathering, this emphasis, this attention on the issue, not only supporting the fathers, but showing them models and speaking to them of how they can be, just wonderful people just by being who they are, is just so very, very important. So I look forward to continuing to support on a state level, locally. Thank you all for reelecting me, those of you who, I hope you all voted. But thank you for giving me another contract, and I will continue to try and help from a state level. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Cousins, and thank you again for your leadership. We're just so glad to have you back in that position, because we know that you have a heart for the people. So yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you.
We love you back. Thank you. And did Frank tell you that he's my honoree? George, he's my senior of the year this year at the county center,
Very good, yeah.
Frank. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator.
I didn't know you were senior.
I know he didn't want to admit it, so I just kind of, I just outed him,
Yeah. This whole senior citizen thing is a new journey for me, but thank you so very much.
It's okay. You deserve that and more.
Senator Shelley Mayer, I'm not sure if she's here or not. But if she's not, I didn't see her in the list, but if she comes in, we'll make sure that she gives us some remarks. And now we will have Commissioner Towns. I'm not sure if Commissioner Leonard Towns is here. I didn't see his name. So we have Dr. Damia, the wonderful director of the Westchester County Youth Bureau, and she's dealing with this issue every day. From Mount Vernon to Yonkers to Peekskill to White Plains, she's really boots on the ground. So, Dr. Damia, I know that you have two other things that you're attending to. Would you give us some words about the importance of this issue? You muted. There we go. Damien, we can't hear you. All right, so why don't you just do this? Just wave your hand. We see you. We know that you're here. She's an important resource for our community because she does assessments and she assesses the needs of our community. And Ernest McFadden will be a part of the panel in her place this evening. So we know that through Ernest, she will weigh in on this important topic tonight. And then also we have Alfonso Nichols, who's the regional administrator. Barbara Andrews had a little hiccup. She can't be with us, but Barbara and the regional administration for children and family services on a federal level have been with us all of these 8 years. And we appreciate, Alfonso, we want you to know we appreciate Barbara because one, she's really the heart of the effort. She helps to pull all of this work together. So she's not able to be with us this evening, but I know that she's here in spirit. So we welcome you to this important conversation.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Alfonso Nicholas. I'm from the Administration for Children and Families, and I'm happy to be here at the 8th Annual New York Father Conference. We're talking in reference to, building safe, health, and thriving communities together and addressing the ending youth violence in our communities. When I look at this, I look at myself growing up as a young man. My father was in the Army, my mother was in the Air Force, and I was in charge of the house with the other 4 siblings. And anything that happened, it was my fault. But, understanding these things when you get older, you see the responsibility that they put on you because they want you to be greater. And looking at this, I saw that neighbors could talk to me and tell me what to do. So it was a village that actually, make me the way I am. And I think that that's one of the approaches that we can take with this violence that occurred that Frank mentioned before, to support our community as fathers, be the fatherhood of the community, and continue to move things forward for youths and in our community. As studies have shown, we already, the researchers has demonstrated how the involvement of fathers and father figures results, in many positive impact with children and youths. Development with the development and with their character. So researchers indicate that protecting factors with father and child relationship, such as trust, communication, and may play a large role in leasing and in the role in leasing the delinquency and the kind of behavior that we observing across the country, especially in our Black community. So I think that, with that said, I just want to say that ACF, the Administration for Children and Families, will continue to support this work in any way possible that we can. And we are your partner, and we are here unconditionally. So with that said, I pass it on to you, Frank.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you for the work and the service and the leadership that you're rendering throughout our nation to support our young people. We appreciate your efforts. And, this is a great work. We want our children to grow up healthy and safe. And your agency is critically important to the development of our young people. Before I turn this over to Scott Leach, I see that Mayor Shawn Howard has joined us, and I would be remiss not giving her an opportunity to say a few words. Mayor, my brother Mayor Shawn, if you would you bring greetings from the city of Mount Vernon? Mayor Shawn, can you hear me? All right. Again, we thank Mayor Shawn for being with us this evening. Again, I want to give our committee a big shout out for putting this conference together. All of our efforts, all of our collaborations, all of our participations, from DCJS to the Administration of Children and Families to OCFS, to our senators, our mayors, our county. It's important in this work. And we stand on your shoulders as we seek to improve our communities. I'm honored now to bring a dear friend, Scott Leach, who's going to introduce our speaker for this evening. And we've heard a lot of great things about Speaker Erica Ford. She is no stranger to this work. She has been on the battlefield for a long, long time. And we look forward to having her come to us and speak to us about not only what happened at UVA yesterday, but what happens every day throughout the nation, and how do we solve these problems, right? Her passion, her commitment, her dedication to improving the health outcomes of our young people is a model for all of us. So Scott, take it away and bring forth our evening speaker. You're muted, Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm glad to see all my Westchester folks. Some of y'all don't even know that I'm originally from Westchester. I'm a Greenbergian. So I grew up at the Theodore Young Community Center doing my thing. And I was definitely, as some of you know me really well, and don't nobody start telling my business because how bad I was running around Greenberg. But I've changed because I had a tremendous amount of positive Black men around my life and to be able to allow me to be able to do great things. Before I introduce our guest speaker, which is a jewel of queens, she's a queen that's she's one of the top queens around here in the Queensboro where I live right now, and I want to introduce her. But at first, I want to give you a little view of what the work that her organization does. Tom, can you cue that video for me, please?
My aggression in the streets was all in. I just wanted to be a gang member. Like, I didn't really want to be a part of anything in a peaceful manner.
That one bullet changed the whole dynamics of my life.
In South Jamaica, Queens, where I'm from, the only resources that's really at hand for us are either a gun or selling drugs in the street and things of that nature.
When somebody gets shot, there's a young group that are looking for who did this and how do we retaliate.
There are so many ways that Life Camp has effected positive change in the community. The ability to take people who were formerly a part of the problem in our community and give them opportunity and decent livable wages so that they can actually be a part of the change. Our core services include safety support, educational support, workforce development, therapeutic services, financial literacy, and nutritional support.
It's my friends and I who started Life Camp because we wanted to give something else to the young people who were children of our friends who died during the crack epidemic or went to jail for 20 and 30 years, and we saw the soul being absent from their children, and we wanted to do something to break that cycle.
You know, I've been the person to be shot and laying on the floor thinking, my life is over. Life Camp has provided me with the tools to act accordingly as a man, not like a kid.
So I've been with Life Camp since I was 14, going on 10 years. Right now, I'm a certified EMT. My first experience with any medical training was when Life Camp had an EMT CPR class. So just like that, it opened the door for me. It opens the door for hundreds of other youth in the community.
This is my son who was murdered, in 2007. It made me become more viable and responsible to my community. Oh, as the RV driver, which is one of my favorite parts, I get to pull up on what we call the Peace Mobile. We go to trouble spots. We take the RV there, which we have a sound studio, we have meditation, we have counseling, we have therapeutic services on there.
Our vision matters because it's so much bigger than the surface of protecting the community and bringing peace. Because what is peace if on the inside you are dying? We have parents who've lost their children to gun violence, and so on the inside, they've stopped living.
And once you get involved with someone's life, you are involved in that person's life. This is a family type of vibe. This is not a situation where we treat you as a number or a check.
We engage our young people to really be opened up. We try to develop a relationship before anything happens. And our secret sauce is really being concerned about what happens after, not what just happens that moment. The work that Sister Ford was doing, something that was much seen and much needed in not only in our communities, but communities at large.
When we started working in our target area with our crisis management system, there was 17 people shot a year, 4 people killed a year. That don't happen no more. And so we're able to contain the violence and then erase the disease of violence from you, then the vision is successful. It matters to the community because we can talk about generational wealth instead of generational trauma. We can talk about building community instead of incarceration rates or police violence, and so it changes the conversation and it allows us to be limitless in our dreams and our aspiration in achieving them. It is our resiliency on top of our authenticity, on top of our tenacity. That means that nobody has more power than us.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. This sister is doing the work. A lot of times we have people in our community, they talk about the work, they make suggestions about what they do. But this is a young lady who is out there on the street. She's in the street. She's not scared of the street. She's going to let you know that she's about her business with her young people and her community. And that's what I love about Erica Ford, something I've met with her. And once again, I just want to welcome her to the stage so that you can meet her. For some of you for many times, for some of you for the first time, you see the work she does. She wears her silver crown proudly, and I want to introduce the queen of kings, Erica Ford. Hey, Erica, how you doing, my queen?
Peace, 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 everybody. Peace. Greetings to the Queen, Senator Cummings. I salute you. And our mayor, the people's mayor, I salute you as well. And everybody who has taken off this evening to come together to listen, address, speak on this issue. There is no hood but fatherhood. You know, I heard what y'all was saying, and that is the essence of what we need to keep peace in our community, right? Is being able to cultivate children's lives from their birth to their death, really. We are never too old to be told the different stories and tricks that our parents have told us. Unfortunately, my father was killed in a senseless war, the Vietnam War. And when I was like 3, 4 years old, so I really never had the father that gave birth to me, that brought me into this world, but I had a lot of father figures that helped raise me and guide me into what it is that I'm doing today, and to make sure that I was safe, to make sure that I was smart, to make sure that I was, you know, courageous and protected. And so we definitely, and that's the essence of why I began this work, is because I saw in the 80s, in the crack epidemic, so many fathers taken away from their children, whether it was physically being killed or locked up for 20, 30 years and taken away from their children. And so I set forth to, how can we break the cycle? How can we, you know, help these children heal from the trauma, the direct trauma, the generational trauma, the vicarious trauma that they've experienced by losing their father? And so there gave the birth to Life Camp. And so thank you for having me here tonight. And hopefully we can, you know, really address some issues. And so, Scott, do you want me to just talk, or you sent me these?
Well, I got questions. I think we're gonna have a conversation.
I know you got a lot of questions.
so you know, Eric and I go back a while. So I said there are a list of questions, but I may not hit all of them, Erica, but because I definitely want to leave opportunity for people who are online to speak to you also. But I just want to go back to the design of Life Camp, because one of the things I saw, as I know, you mimic a lot of things from the Black Panther. Was that by accident, or was that purposeful? Because I mean, you feed the community, you nurture the community, you have after-school programs for the community. You're really taking on a lot of things that normally government would do for the community, but now you and the volunteers and the citizens of the community are taking on it. Was that purposeful, or am I misreading that?
I think that our history is rich as a people, and I think that our history becomes our present if we look at the shoulders and footsteps of those that we follow. And so I definitely don't recreate what worked, you know. And so I think that there's a lot of programs that the Panther Party did that worked for our community, but I wouldn't say that I set forth and was like, I'm going to do this in the, you know, steps of the Panther Party. But I think that the issues that the Panther Party addressed are still active today. And so we have to address those issues. We have to get quality food to our people. We have to get safety and security to our people. We have to get jobs and economics to our people. And so we set forth to build a system that could address all those needs. As we address violence from the public health perspective, we address the disease of violence. And so we're helping people heal and transform and build community and change community norms in the process of stopping violence.
Now, some of us are 30,000 feet away from a lot of this. We hear about the violence, but it's different when you're in the streets and you actually see the violence going on. So I heard you say the disease. Can you break down the disease a little bit more? Because once again, you know, if I'm sitting in my tower 30,000 feet away, I may not really understand. When you say the disease, break it down a little bit more for me so I can come closer to it.
So when people, you know, they talk about those kids over there, right? They just shooting up each other. But when we look at, like how I said I started, when we look at the crack epidemic that impacted our community in the 80s, guns and drugs were brought into our community. Drugs and guns infected our community. Drugs and guns destroyed our community. In the essence of living in that community, you are addicted to drugs and guns and a lifestyle of violence. You're giving birth to a child. That child is coming out crack addicted, violent addicted, abused. I heard the gentleman from ACS, people were taken out of their homes and put in homes with strangers, lost the nurturing, right? Because your parents give you that nurturing environment, right? And so then you grow up and you're a teenager and all you see is violence. All you feel is violence. All you feel is hate. The food that you're given builds toxins in your body. None of the food gives life. It's processed, it's poison, it's deadly, it's sugarful. It's nothing that breathes life. And so you're living in this diseased, dying environment. Your brain is dying, your body is dying, your spirit is dying. And so when you go out and somebody bumps into you, somebody calls you a name, somebody laughs and they're not even laughing at you, you're going to lash out, Frantz Fanon, the wretched of the earth, to those who are most closest to you. And then it becomes an interpersonal conflict. And from that interpersonal conflict comes a war between you and somebody. And you're fighting, you're engaged in acts of violence. And not because of that person, not because of something that happened. There was a stop and frisk that existed in our community for years, where young men and women were stopped and thrown on the ground and strip searched and put in jail, not because they committed a crime, but because of the zip code that they lived in. They were dehumanized, they were humiliated. They didn't go home, or they didn't take that anger out on that police officer. They went home angry. They went home feeling less than human beings. And so they took out that anger on those who they were closest to. And so that disease is because you're living in generational trauma, vicarious trauma, trauma upon trauma, and no healing, no rescue unit coming in to give you that oxygen mask that you need to breathe. No rescue unit giving you tools that how can I breathe? How can I live? How can I find love in a village of hate, right? And so we have to look at the root cause of why guns are used as the answer to interpersonal conflict, to resolve pain, to resolve situations, right? And that is not because of those two people. It is because of psychology that has been inflicted upon you for years. And so that's why we say it is a disease that comes out of the trauma and the oppression and the poverty that we live in.
So when, any type of disease, we always try to combat it with some type of something that will affect it or slow it down, or maybe even kill it and get away. So give me some tools that you have developed through Life Camp that kind of help to water down this disease or kill this disease. Because I know you've had moments where I think I saw something like 500 some odd days with no shootings. In a lot of communities, that's unheard of. Some people can't get 2 days without shootings. So give me some of the factors that went into your success of having these longevity, no shooting days in your neighborhood.
Yeah. So in Life Camp, we created something with a team of folks called the VIP system. And it's the Violence Intervention and Prevention System. And we called it VIP because everybody wants to be a VIP. Everybody wants to be important, right? And so this concept was bringing together folks who worked with young people from the different lanes, whether it was the health and wellness lane, whether it was the sports and physical fitness lane, whether it was the gang and intervention and what was the workforce, whether it was legal, right? A lot of young people get caught up in the law, mentorship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we did this in the community. We worked with young people. We were everywhere they were. We were teaching them how to do teen parties and become entrepreneurs. And we took this concept to the mayor's office. It was under Bloomberg. Christine Quinn was the Speaker of the House. And really we saw her at an event and got her to, start up a task force and launch this work. And from that was the creation of the New York City Crisis Management System that addresses the question of violence in a holistic kind of way. And so you're paying people to work, you're in the schools, you're in the juvenile facilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we address the violence in that particular target area holistically with the young people with the highest potential to be shot or shoot somebody, as well as their family, as well as their friends, as well as the schoolmates, right? It changed the culture of that violence. We were able to go 562 days without anyone being shot. We were able to go up to 4 years with nobody being killed. And that came because of that holistic work. And in any, in most businesses, right, when something is successful, you continue to invest and expand and invest and expand. And that's what we want to see happen in New York City. Invest in what works, expand what works, and really build a holistic and comprehensive approach to violence. It's not just about taking that gun out of someone's hands. We're not Cure Violence, right? That they came to us with, you got to use Cure Violence. And I was like, no, I don't know what Cure Violence is. I don't want to use Cure Violence. I don't think that works for me, right? And they were like, oh, yes, it works. Da, 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 da. I was like, no. And then we made them add the other parts too, because they forced us to use Cure Violence because it was a, quote, evidence-based. Because in our community, they don't come and make evidence out of our basis of success, right? And so, and nor do a lot of people who are in the ground doing the work have, in previous methods, had the time to get the research of your success because you're busy doing the actual work, right? And so a lot of those big companies has the ability to get data trackers and do the data work that is needed to make work evidence-based. And so now we are finally working with institutions to help make our stuff evidence-based. But the wraparound therapeutic services addressing the trauma was added, and the holistic approach, and then came the New York City Crisis Management System. And it started with 5 sites, $5 million, and now it's over 30-something sites across New York City. And as our senator said, it is the SNUG program is moving to get to be that comprehensive kind of program. Shout out to David, I see you there, in the state side. But, we need that comprehensive wraparound support for that work that the state sites are doing around this violence prevention so that they can have the tools to help those communities heal after we take the guns out their hand.
Erica, I know a lot of times, you always have to have something to replace. If I don't have a gun and I don't have something to do, what are some of the things that we may be able to replace in our communities so these young people or just people in general have positive things to do? I used to run the PAL centers and stuff like that. And at least from the hours of 3 to 6 or 3 to 8, maybe they had a safe place to go to do something if they could get there. But what do they have nowadays that needs to be created for them? Any suggestions?
Yeah, so we do everything. Like, what most young people like to party, they like to have fun. But we took them out the box. We partnered with people like Deepak Chopra and Russell Simmons and started a yoga program. And, I didn't tell the young people that they were going to learn yoga.
I sent them, I said, this is your job, right? And you got to go to this address and this is where you're going to work. And they went there and they found out it was yoga. And some of them was like, I want to do that stuff. You know, they were like, they were being teased and this and that. But some of them stayed with it. And when they stayed with it, and now they're famous yoga teachers teaching all over the world. They even teach the Kansas City Chiefs right before they won the Super Bowl. It was because of us they won the Super Bowl. But and they come straight from Basie Projects. They used to do yoga right in the middle of the projects, and they were able to break that cycle from, you know, people wanting to be part of that gang and that drug dealing culture to wanting to be like them. And they opened up a juice bar, and now they're turning the juice bar into a wellness center. But they're teaching yoga and meditation. We do pain on beats, and we teach young people how to take your pain and turn it into music and perform. And so one of the young people that we did that with is now one of the top battle rappers in the United States. And, you know, of course, there's just the regular sports and entertainment. We're teaching them how to create those video games that they play, how to make money in building the video games as opposed to just playing the video games, and so much more, you know, we do. But we pay them to learn all of the skills that would make them successful businessmen and women.
You know, it's so exciting to hear that you introduce something very out of the box to the young people about yoga and all the different healing aspects that people can have by doing yoga and meditation and getting in touch with me. Because as we always say, you know, the enemy is in me.
Right.
So we have to help teach our young people about the inner me so I can deal with the world. If I can deal with this enemy, then I can help deal with the other enemies. So talk a little bit about how that helps people, because I know you do a lot of stuff. You brought, you know, so much food and resources to food deserts in areas, and be able to help that. And once again, have healthy foods, healthy eating is definitely a way of healing and killing this disease also, actually.
Yes.
You better and you learn better, you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually in the middle of a 21-day detox right now. We partner with Queen Afua. We have our borough president, his wife, deputy borough president. We got Assemblywoman Alicia Hyman, Councilwoman Natasha Williams, Senator Leroy Comrie, Deputy Mayor Phil Banks, and several of our staff, formerly incarcerated men who've been in jail for 31 years, came home, all of them doing the detox around helping to, some of them are trying to lose 50 pounds, some of them are trying to get healthy, you know, because we see what is happening in our community. People are just dropping dead. And the only way we can heal is to heal ourselves, you know. And so we are ready. I see you, man, Sean. I'm calling you later. You joining. Y'all see her right there. She says she's ready. Let's go. The call for the detox is at 7 right after this. But we are taking that step to build a city of wellness, you know, and it starts with each individual, because we have the power to heal ourselves. And so we switch what we eat, we switch what we serve to young people. And it's a battle, you know, because we're addicted in our community. When you drive down the block, you should start to take a look at where is the healthy food in our community. Where do our kids get life, right? And we begin to bring that awareness. Kepra, who is our chief wellness officer, creates a host of wellness programs with our director of wellness, Tracy Queen. And we believe that a healthy mind and a healthy body brings a healthy community. And so we teach, we partnered with Lifetime Gym. And so our staff goes to Lifetime Gym, because if we can't show up right for our people, then, you know, it's a problem. We're out there trying to talk someone off the ledge of shooting somebody, and you can't be antiquated, you can't be lethargic, you can't be out of shape in trying to get a healthy community. You know, you just can't, because you're not going to be able to do it. Because this work is very depleting, and we have to take time to heal ourselves. And a lot of times that's what we don't do. We're there for everybody except ourselves.
You know, we find time for every situation except healing ourselves. And we got to make time to make sure that we're healthy, that we're right, that we're, you know, in a space where we know that when we walk outside, we're not going to drop dead, because that's what's happening around us, unfortunately. You know, we see it. We see it.
And I love that you were able to get a lot of the top leaders in the community to be the face of it. Also, you know, it's always good. It's always easy to say whatever you want to say,
right?
But am I going to experience it with you?
Yeah,
you know, because when I
yeah.
experience it with you, then I have a different understanding. Say, well, yeah, this is tough, you know, or I really understand that, and I know a lot of the names you mentioned are people I see in the community all the time. They're not afraid to walk amongst us. You know,
yeah.
I think that's really important for leadership. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit, because the work you do with Life Camp, and I understand that, and I want to find out how's the relationship between what you do and the police officers in the community, and what are some of the steps that communities can do to develop? Because I know the 113 used to be always like, oh, the 113, oh, you never wanted it. But now they're like, hey, arm in arm, and I see y'all doing a lot of things together. How was I able to change that relationship to make it smoother between the two?
A lot of late night fights. you know, but and I'm not joking. But I used to be the type of the person, and some of those who know me know, right? They used to call me the angry peacemaker. And when the police in particular, when they would pull me over, or I would see them, or we would stop, we're fighting, we're cursing out, I'm cursing out them, they curse me out, you know, and we're fighting. And one of the things I said to myself is, this is depleting me, and it's depleting everybody around me. And so I had to change the way that I responded to how they responded to me, right? Because I couldn't change them right then and that time, right? But I could change me. And so I changed me. And that took me from that to being on the Police Commissioners Advisory Committee, and then setting up a pilot at the 113th precinct around how do we work together, and mediating between the police and the community, like literally standing in the middle of a brawl and mediating between the police and the community, and then getting the police to see how people saw them, right? Sitting down with young people and having real conversations, and actually working, like Rodney Harrison, who used to be the chief of the department, he would say to me, Erica, don't talk to them, talk to me, because they're rookies. When you go down to their level, then you're losing the battle, right? Talk to me, let me translate to them. And we set up a system on how we would communicate, right? Because the objective is to win, right? It's not about ego. It's not about who's right at this time and who's wrong. You got to be able to see the bigger picture in the situation so that you can get the result that you want. Because I could stay there and argue with them forever and a day. If like, I just want to be like, oh, we go, no, you and me. No, but if the community doesn't have someone who can advocate for them, who can show up at that precinct and maybe talk this young person out of being arrested, or talk them into turning over this young person to us, or we've interrupted many, instead of them busting down somebody's door with a warrant, we've been able to ring the bell and say, like, this is what's getting ready to happen. They need to come in here and search for this and, step aside, or do safe surrenders. They'll let us know they're looking for this person, and the person is willing to turn themselves in, and we do a safe surrender, or some young person comes to us and say, the police is looking for them, and can we negotiate their turn in? And we do that. EDP cases, same thing. We're able to, be the calm between that person who's emotionally disturbed and the police. There was a situation where there was a 3-day standoff with the police and this individual. Lots of money being used in this operation, and we were able to convince the police to move out. and, you know, turn over the entire operation to us. And within 7 minutes, we were able to get this man to come out of this tree and go to the hospital. And, you know, we helped the mother. We put the mother in a hotel so she wasn't there to, you know, engage in any further domestic violence. And then we dealt with the son, you know, and through this, and you know, the inspector will call me in whatever time and tell me about a situation, tell me to send my staff, ask what we need. We don't give information to the police, and they know that, because our credibility on the streets is what's valuable for us to get the resolve that we need to get. But we get data from them. We share and discuss data on where is, you know, the crime, the incidents of violence coming from. So we know to go work that area. Or we tell the police, you know, that we don't come to this area or come to this area. There was a 4th of July situation. The kids were shooting fireworks at the police. And y'all know that's going to turn into a shootout, right? And the police inspector called our chief of streets. We have a chief of streets, as you saw in the thing, and asked him, you know, what do we do? Like, you know, he was like, y'all pull out. We'll take care of the kids and the fireworks. Y'all move out of this area. Same thing when they had the incident when the George Floyd and folks marched on the precinct. And I was like, well, if y'all go inside, there's nobody there for them to, you know, thing. And when they went inside, the young people continued their march, right? So it's about working together with respect and the understanding that we're not always going to agree. We're not trying to be friends, but we're trying to have a safe and successful community. And once again, help people heal. We don't want to bring more trauma to our community. And so what are the ways that we could show up together and work together to do that? And so we've had tremendous success in doing that, yes.
So with that said, I know we're running, time is running fast. I know you got to get to another event. I do want to open up the floor for some questions, but I want to understand, how does that happen? When something in the neighborhood happens, how does the call or the call out, how does the word get to you all? Because if I'm correct, someone is dispatched to the scene, someone is dispatched to the hospital, someone is dispatched to the family house. Can you kind of describe that? How does that happen? That all these tentacles happen, which are all needed, all at the same time.
Yes. So the situation could come one of 3 ways. We helped develop this app called Citizen that a lot of people might know. We played a critical role in developing that app, and we use that app as a way to find out what's going on, alerts. Also, by people's credibility, sometimes they get calls from the community, from the neighbors, from the individuals of what's going on. Or like I said, the inspector will call and let us know. And then our chief of streets will dispatch his team to those various locations, you know, and then we have our 35-foot recreational vehicle that we call the Peace Mobile that will go to the hospital and will be there to help the family just find a resolve in that critical time of violence amongst their family member, or to help stop retaliation, et cetera, et cetera. We use the Peace Mobile for those various.
And I know that that's a real technique of being able to talk people out of retaliating. So your staff, they must go through quite a bit of training, how to diffuse that, how to speak calmly or to a certain way to be able to diffuse or bring the temperature down so people can be more thoughtful in their thinking of how they want to process this. Yes, the loved one is hurt or injured or whatever, and the typical fly off the handle is, I'm getting even. And I know sometimes it's not even about that. But how do you train your credible messengers? And I want to even talk a little bit more about, for those who are looking to try to emulate this, how do you even decide who is a good credible messenger? Because everybody who walks in ain't a good credible messenger.
Right. Sometimes people are credible, but they're not suitable, you know, and that's the thing. Just because somebody went to jail or just because somebody was involved in a life of crime doesn't mean that they're credible to do this job. you know, and we have to begin to elevate, you know, sometimes who we're calling credible. And it's a real knack. And you might not always catch it, right? And so sometimes people, as we all experience, people show up and do great interviews, right? And they tell you great stories. And when it comes time to do the work, then that's a different story. And so there's all kind of trainings. Damon, the king over there, he used to be the training man, but now he's elevated. They have all kind of training that they go through in the Credible Messenger program, Cure Violence, CMS, SNUG, all of them. It has a host of different trainings. But one of the other things that we help them also do, because if you're credible, that is part of you, that ability to, because you come from that culture, you participated in that lifestyle. And so you know the language that allowed you to get off that ledge, and so you give that language back to someone else. And so the thing that we do is to help them be present, is to help them with unconventional therapeutic services so that they too can release their trauma, because they too are impacted by being in jail, by this cycle of violence, by this cycle of poverty. And so we teach them how to let go, how to be present, how to, you know, just heal themselves so that they can use the tools that, one, are inherent to them, but also the others that are taught to them in the heat of the moment, because it's the heat of the moment. And hopefully I can still hear you because my headphones fell under the chair. As y'all see, I'm out of the car.
And you're always on the move. I'm glad I can get you. But you can hear me, right? You found it?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So a couple more things before I open up the question. And those who want to have a question to Erica, please type in the chat. Our Tom will be looking for some of the questions to lead into the conversation. So please start thinking about your questions to give to our honorable speaker tonight. But a couple of things, Erica, I just want to. How'd you come up with the color orange as like the signature thing for you all?
Orange for peace. We came up with the color orange because of its burst light, sunshine, the brightness that it brings to wash away that red blood that runs through our streets, and you know, it just brings a lot of tragedy and pain to our community. So we wanted to bring light, we wanted to bring life, and we, you know, orange. We looked up orange. We talked to some folks, and plus, orange is my favorite color.
Because I know now, anywhere I go, when people talk about peace, is like, where'd they come up with the color orange? But it's because of Erica Ford. So you got to hear it first. So
yes,
everybody picks up orange because it's Erica's favorite color. So next, I just want to ask you, the term that you have, the tagline that you all use, "I love my life." Talk to me a little bit about that. And it's so inspiring to say, "I love my life."
Right. And it really came at a time where myself and most of the people that I was working with, we didn't love our lives. Right. And so I figured that if I say it enough, it'll become, you know, we'll begin to love our lives. And it worked, you know, because this work is trauma. It's like, it's pain, you know, this ain't easy. It ain't easy. Being around and watching, we live in, America is violent. America is violent. And those who are mostly impacted is our children, you know? And so to work with our young people and really not be, I was a person who, I remember Ann Ison Williams, who's now a deputy mayor, she used to say, "Erica, you can't save the world." And I was like, yes, I can, you know? And it just brought a real, that's the angry peacemaker, anger to me, you know, because I wanted to save the world. I wanted to save these young people from what I saw happening in our community and in our lives. And so, you know, we started the I Love My Life campaign and to inspire and to help give hope.
And the other tagline you have is peace is a lifestyle.
Right, because it takes work, you know, it takes work. You can't just be like, yo, peace, peace. You know, it was the nation of gods and earth, and everybody used to say peace. But we have to live that lifestyle. We have to embody peace. And so our mission at Life Camp is to everything that we do to try to make peace part of it, you know, and try to allow us to walk in peace, to talk in peace, to grow in peace. And so I am in Peace Cook School and you know, I'm trying to turn, everything was about, you know, in my life, how do I turn stuff into a lifestyle, right? I had to live it. You can't just say peace and then be cursing people out every other step that you make, right? And so I had to live that lifestyle. I have to be humble to my own transformation. And so, you know, that commitment came to that transformation because we all think we got it. You know, a lot of times we think, oh, you know, I got a job or I'm doing this, or you get a couple of awards and, oh, now you're the peace doctor, right? I got the shirt on right here. It says a peace doctor. But you got to live it. You got to practice it every day and every night and embody it. And so as I began to sorry. And so that's where that came from, so that to continue the cycle of transformation to make peace real.
And as we get ready to start wrapping this up, Erica, with the conversation, I know that I know you get on me a lot. So Scott, why are you always asking me? This is about fathers. So let's get into about the men, okay? And I know, you know, my brother AU, you know, I know he's the chief of the streets and stuff like that. So let's talk about what our men in the community can really do more of to really be involved in this work, because you know this is about fatherhood, this is manhood, and we always talk about studies of father involvement and what men are involvement. But how do we really put guys up in front? I'm going to be there on Saturday, so I'll be there Saturday for the other thing, for the meeting. But let's talk about the role that men have to start playing in their own community. I think you're muted. Yeah, you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
Right. How you know I said, am I? It's so funny. I said, am I? You're like, yeah, you are. But because I was sitting in the car too long, then it turned off, and then, you know, whatever. But you know, men, I hate telling men what they have to do, right? Because men don't want to hear from women what they have to do in the community. But the only thing that I would say is be present. You know, be humble and be present. And to be present means to show up for that other person from their perspective of what they need and want, not what you want for them. A lot of times we come with the knowing of the answer. And as Kipper says, and really it comes from the Bible, everybody wants to be heard. Right? Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be loved. And if you already know the answer, then you're not listening to that person in front of you. You're not loving, heart check that person in front of you, right? You're not really being patient and present for that person in front of you, and not based on stereotypes or judgment, but just from that young person or that community that needs you from the basis of which you come from, right? Because everybody brings something different. And don't look at what the next person is bringing, because you're not going to bring that, because that's not you. You know, we have a young person in our organization. He named his thing "Do You," right? Ronald. He called himself TV, but it's right. Do you? Because what you bring, somebody needs, right? And so be free to give your love and your presence to that young person and that community that needs it. Wow. Without acknowledgement. Don't need acknowledgement. You don't need somebody to say thank you. They might not say thank you. but do it from your heart because that's what you want to do, right? And then the rewards will come to you in life.
Awesome, awesome. So, Tom, do we have some people have some questions? You want to unmute some people to ask questions? Do you have somebody up to ask a question to Erica?
Yes, I'm just going to give them to both of you. We have a question about Life Camp's involvement with the schools and gangs. And then there's another question about funding sources. Where do you get the funding sources?
Which one you want first, Erica? The school or the funding?
Okay, so I see Alfonso, right? As an organization, do you all apply for funding, state, city, and federal, or state, federal? We apply for city, state, and federal funding. Most of our funding comes from city, state, and federal government, yes. And the schools, where's the school question at?
It was, how are you involved with schools and gangs? What kind of interplay?
So we're present in the schools. We do safe corridors. We, form a partnership with the school. We train the staff to help them become culturally attuned to work with our kids, and not just culturally competent. We work with the parents in the school. We are present for, conflict in the school to mediate and do restorative justice and/or expose young people to different career opportunities, after school programming, in-school programming, et cetera, et cetera. And,
awesome. And then there's another question about that. So the person said, the work you do at Life Camp is remarkable. Can you talk about similar programs that have popped up because they've been inspired by Life Camp?
The world. The world. Life Camp, then there was the world.
Well, this other, I know we have, like, out here in Queens, we have Kings of Kings, we have Man Up, we have, I can't think of what, Lospo, something, I can't remember the old name.
He said inspired and from the line. So Man Up and Life Camp started around the same time. Life Camp under that umbrella name. We started, that's our brother organization. And a lot of the stuff that Life Camp does, we did it with Man Up together. So we did a lot of the stuff that we did in sync, step and step.
And another question is, who were you inspired by as you as you were young and got older? What was who formed you?
Well, my mother and my father, but I think I attended a rally on December 12th, 1987 in Goshen, New York. Some of you, I don't know if you remember, but there was a attack in the prison in Goshen. The correction office had dressed up in KKK uniform and sprayed water on the inmates and turned the temperature up. And I attended that rally. And sitting at that rally and listening to everything that was going on, it just kind of made me aware that there was something more to the world than just being concerned about myself. And it was like, you go to church and you get saved. I went to that rally and I gained consciousness. And from then, December 12th, 1987, I have been going on ever since and doing this work. And there's so many people who have inspired me. There's so many people who have inspired me along the way. I would be remiss to name a name because I'll miss one. But I am the sum total of all those who come before me.
So Erica, I understand that you're going to be doing some work in Yonkers. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So we've been working with the Yonkers YMCA on getting a peaceful bill out there, and reduplicating that part of the work. And And we look forward to doing that and putting a lot of Peacemobile across the state.
So I don't know if everybody knows the Peacemobile. The Peacemobile is a RV. It has a sound studio in it. Has a health and wellness. Has a medical center in it. It has a lot of stuff in it that shows up. Tell me all the other components in it. I know there's a lot of stuff in it. It's a big thing.
You did it. The most of the full recording studio is there, and then there's a punching bag so people can get out their pain. We have a little multi-purpose area where they do the virtual reality college tours and virtual job fairs and stuff like that. And they have computer classes. They do wellness sessions in the back. And then we have a circle where we do healing circles with parents. We have a place that we call Kepper's Kitchen, where she teaches folks how to eat more alkaline than acidic. So,
yeah, I see Mayor Patterson from Mount Vernon said, you better order 2. Don't just get one for y'all.
Yeah, I know.
Mount Vernon wants
I know. We got it.
I see you, Mayor.
Yes.
So we're going to get that budget together. We're going to get 2.
And I see Damon talking about the CBI, the initiative with the White House, and pushing. We met with Susan when Biden made his announcement. He was going to put $90 million in community violence intervention, and there's a group of us called the Black and Brown Peace Coalition, Fund Peace, and those of you who wants to become part of it, you can text Fund Peace to 51555, Fund Peace to 51555, and just join that national movement of community violence intervention workers. But we said that's not enough for him to put $90 million, that he needed to put $5 billion. And we met with Susan Rice, and we got her to be our champion, our advocate, and then just continue to work and organize and educate the Congress and the Senate. And there's been millions and millions and billions of dollars put into community violence intervention work across the nation. First time ever. And right now we're hoping that they come back and the Senate vote for the Break the Cycle of Violence Act and put another $5 billion into community violence intervention work. But it's the folks in the national work that really brought that to life. And we have a New York State Peace Coalition from that, and we're helping people so that they can get access to those. There's a lot of federal grants that have been put out from this initiative, from the DOJ, the DOE, CDC, Health and Hospital, Labor. And so we want to help groups get access to these funds and build their violence intervention work across the nation, particularly in New York State.
Well, my queen, I promise you I'm going to get you off here in time so you can get to that thing. It's about that time. Once again, I appreciate your taking the time out to be with us and speak with us about this important work that we need to do. We got to get ahead of it. I really thank you for your time. I'm pretty sure those who are on, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of other questions, but I know I respect your time. And I do it also. So, next time I ask a favor, you're going to say yes again. So,
Oh, and I wrote that wrong. No, it's Fund.
Oh, Fund Peace.
Peace. Yeah, this autocorrect is something.
But we want to thank you and be safe. And I know you have a lot more to go and do.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. And we'll be in touch real soon. I'll probably see you Saturday at the meeting. Okay?
No, that's a men's meeting. I won't be there.
Well, okay. Well, I'll be with all the men then. We're going to shoulder up. Okay? We're going to get this work done.
Yes.
Thank you, Erica.
All right. Take care. Thank you all. Look forward to working with you guys up in Westchester. Peace. Thank you. Thank you all.
Hey, Frank. Frank here?
Yeah, Scott, I'm here. Thank you. Listen, you got a lot of stuff going on. You hit the spot with Erica. Scott, thank you so much for engaging with her. We found this presentation conversation very stimulating, very interesting, and we want to continue to partner and collaborate with Life Camp and with Erica, because one, it really does take all of us working together to move this needle. And I always say, whatever happens in New York City will impact what happens here in White Plains. You know, we have kids coming up from the Bronx and Brooklyn, Manhattan to Yonkers and Mount Vernon, and even to White Plains. So we need to build healthy, thriving, safe communities where we're all working together. So thank you, Scott. And again, a shout out to Erica. We're going to continue this presentation. Our partner in this, Donnie Simmons, who is the fatherhood coordinator for the White Plains Youth Bureau, and he also coordinates the Black and Hispanic Male Initiative at the Westchester Community College. We have a panel presentation. We're going to continue to talk about this, right? So Donnie, take it away and introduce our panelists.
Thank you very much, Frank. And attention, everybody. We're going to do a quick neurological reset, okay? Through neuroscience, we learned that the brain turns on and off every 20 minutes. So before I get into it, what I want everyone to do is just to follow me for a second. Just breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One more time, breathe in, breathe out. Yeah, we're good now. We're good. So listen, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Fatherhood Initiative here in the city of White Plains, welcome to our 8th annual New York Fathering Conference. With us today to do a further dive into ways in which we can build safe, healthy, and thriving communities together are panelists of great import and esteem who continue to work tirelessly toward positive and lasting outcomes for young people. It gives me great pleasure to introduce, first and foremost, Ernest McFadden, Program Administrator, Westchester County Youth Bureau, Rocco A. Posey, a good friend of mine, Commissioner, Westchester County Department of Probation, Damon Pacote, Commissioner, Office of Youth Justice, New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, Jesus R., he's an activist, an advocate, and youth violent expert, and my beloved former student, Antoine McPherson. He is an alum from Westchester Community College and an entrepreneur extraordinaire. So I just want to welcome all of our panelists. And so what we're going to do in the next 45 minutes is I have 5 questions. What I'm going to do is allow for each of our panelists 9 minutes to address these issues, okay? And the first question is to Ernest. Now, Ernest, are you there? Okay. Is Demia here? All right.
Donnie, I'm working. I'm trying to search for everyone and get them up in the. So it'll take a second, but
okay. We'll give you that.
So Ernest is here, Donnie.
Okay. All right. Ernest, can you turn your mic on? He may be muted, Frank. Oh, there he is. Okay. What's up, Ernie? You got to turn your mic on, brother. Okay. He's talking, he's mouthing, but there's no volume here. So what I'm going to do is as soon as we get Ernest up, then we can segue back to him. But this is what I'm going to do. This is a big question, right? Because this is in keeping with everything that Erica and Scott were just talking about moments ago. The question is, how did we get here? And here is the moment where there's disproportional violence in our communities, among ourselves. How did we get here? What happened? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this one to Damon. And what I want to do is, Damon, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay.
Okay. So how did we get here?
I don't know if we have enough time to talk about how do we get
I'm clocking you. You got 9 minutes.
Yeah, I think there are many reasons we got here, right? We know that our communities that are disproportionately affected by violence have all the other ills that we talk about, right? We talk about schooling, we talk about food deserts, we talk about poverty, right? Like those things are kind of synonymous with these same neighborhoods that have seen these spikes of violence. And when you look at it and you start talking about the crack epidemic, the 90s crime bill, you know, all of these things that started taking fathers away from communities. And so you start taking fathers away from communities, that means there's less people there to raise young girls to see how relationships between men and women work, and also teach young men how to become men. And so you start seeing that start missing. And then, you know, when you look at all the other things, there's been things that have been, you know, written down in history that these communities have been disinvested, right? We start talking about redlining and all the other things that have gone on in the community. And you say, well, how did we get here? I would tell you almost like it was predictable that we would get here. Like this isn't a mystery. This is actually almost like it's planned this way. So, you know, these are some of the things that we look at. And then you also have to look at, like, you know, and I have this conversation with a lot of my friends a lot of times when people of color, men, women, when we get successful, our first thing is to get out of our neighborhood, right? Because we want better schools for our kids, we want safety and things like that. So when we're leaving these communities, we are also leaving role models for these young people to look up to. So, you know, part of it is, how do we get here? It was done systematically. How do we get back to where we want it to be, right? Because a lot of the times, and I've dealt with violence prevention for the last 10 years, you know, when we're talking about young people, these are young people that have been, you know, there's 2 to 3% that are causing 75% of violence. So you're talking about a small population of young people that are really causing the violence. And these are young people that have been shut out from all of the community activities. The community has kind of turned their back on them. So they've kind of created their own world where they see that violence is the answer, and that's where you get respect. So we have to really go out and talk to these young people, meet them where they are, which is very cliche. And I'm a social worker, and that's like social work school 101 is meet the client where they are. And we have to meet these young people where they are and not only tell them what they need to do, but listen to what they want to do. Because all of us, I know myself, I'm a certain age, and the world that these young people live in now is different than the world I came up in. And I have to be willing to adapt and be adaptable and say, okay, what is it that I can do for you so I'm able to help you get to where you're looking to go to? Because what I think might be right for you is not maybe what's right for you. So it's really about listening to these young people, understanding that they're coming up in a different time. These internets, these phones, these connections that they have are totally different than anything I had when I was growing up. And understand that this is a problem that has been systematically done to our communities. So part of it too is getting people, men and fathers, especially Black and brown men, in positions to make systematic changes. I mean, the big part of why I wanted to work for the Division of Criminal Justice Services as a deputy commissioner in our office is because I wanted to be at that table to be able to make some of these systematic changes, because we know that these communities have been purposely disinvested. So how do we get in positions where we are reinvesting in these communities that have been disinvested for, you know, we want to say decades, I want to say centuries. And so, you know, really, you know, how did we get here? It was pretty predictable. The question is, how do we get back to where we're trying to get to?
So can you talk just a moment about some of the programs that you personally have been involved in where you have sort of seen this resurrection take place? So
currently, like the SNUG program for the state that Erica was talking about, I started off as a program manager in Mount Vernon, where we hired the staff. We saw reductions in shootings in those first couple of years. And then I left to go to the state, where I became the statewide training director of the SNUG program. We started off, like Erica said, using the Cure Violence model. And then we kind of wrote the curriculum that fit New York State. Mm-hmm. And we saw in 2019, we saw the lowest number of shootings in New York State history since they've been recording shootings and murders since 1965. So, you know, we saw that then the pandemic hit, we saw the spike in violence. And, you know, in 2022, those numbers are coming back down. We're still above the 5-year average, but they're coming back down. We're doing some of that. My office also funded through the Youth Justice Institute at University of Albany. We call it the Policy Equity Academy, where there have been 5 probation jurisdictions around the state that have gone through this academy to look at, you know, laws and rules and regulations that might be driving disproportionality of Black youth deeper into the system at adjustment. And, you know, we funded them to say, you know what, look at your books, look at some of your policies and procedures and see if, you know, you can't make some of those changes. Here's some money, some startup money to kind of look at that. And then also we're doing a project. We were given $20 million in the governor's budget last year to do what we call Project Rise, which stands for Respond, Invest, Sustain, for these communities. And we're looking at giving each community, Mount Vernon and Yonkers happen to be two of the communities that we're working with, is to give each of these communities $2 million. But unlike what government has done in the past to say, here's what we want you to do with the $2 million, we've actually formed committees in communities to say, tell us where this money needs to go. Tell us the people who are doing the work, and make sure that smaller grassroots organizations get a percentage of this money to help them, empower them to make sure that they are now able to receive state funding after this program leaves. Because we know that even when you start talking about funding, there's disproportionality of funding, right? There's inequity in the funding process because we know that how state funds things, right? There's always this, you know, we do an RFP and the agencies that have the best pen game and that the best back office get the money to do work in our communities. And so we've said we want to take a different look at it. We want to make sure that we are investing and empowering smaller non-for-profits to be able to do the work because they are on the ground doing the work. And we will find a way to make sure that they are able to get it without having to do the reimbursement that the state normally does. So those are just a few programs that my office is doing right now. We're also looking at giving those communities that we're working in Westchester, once again, Mount Vernon and Yonkers, two of them, is another $2 million to help build infrastructure in those communities, because we know that infrastructure has been a problem, whether that's high-speed internet in some buildings, whether that's old and decaying buildings that could be used for different things. So we're really looking at doing community-led solutions because we know people who are closest to the problems are the people that have the answers.
And in the 2 minutes remaining, if you were given the keys to the golden kingdom and you had one implementation to go forward and make it happen that you see fit is best for our community, what would that be?
That's a really big question. But I think that part of the things that we've done with healing work are giving people a purpose, right? Because I think having people have a purpose, then they see the bigger picture. And part of that purpose is be able to let that purpose make them a livable wage. Because you could have a purpose and a passion, but making $10 an hour is not going to feed your family, right? So if we could help people have a purpose, and that purpose could translate into a livable wage, you know, in New York City or in Westchester, $15 an hour still isn't a livable wage, right? Like we need a real live livable wage where people could have a purpose. We would see our communities look differently.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, brother. You were right on time, hit the mark, hit it out the park, right?
Thank you.
We're gonna circle back to you. I just want to see if Rocco Posey is here. Is Rocco here?
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Rocco. How you doing, buddy?
How can I say no to you and Frank? No matter what time it is. Matter of fact, I was talking to your buddy Zarnecki today and challenging him to come up with the date for our annual holiday luncheon. So we're working.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't wait for that. I can't wait. So, you know, Rocco has been doing this work for decades, right? And in my mind, he is among the more elite. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about something that you pin on a wall. I'm talking about a person who is on the ground, boots on the ground, right? And getting work done. Rocco has been a part of the Westchester landscape for a very long time, for decades. He hails from Philadelphia, okay? So he knows what's going on for real. And so Rocco, I'm gonna toss this question to you, right? What can we do to reverse course, like where we are now in terms of where your mind sees what is taking place right now? What can our systems do to be of benefit to start to reverse this course?
Well, you know, I really think we need to be doing, you know, a lot of interventions with young people. I think we need to start out very early, you know, and working with the kids in our community. There's been, when you ask the question to Damon about, how we got here, there's been changes in the landscape. I mean, when you look at the family unit, it's changed. Years ago, the whole neighborhood, was part of the family unit. And, and some of that has disappeared, because, people today, I believe are scared to get involved. There's a lot of distrust out there, Donnie. There's a distrust, not only of the police. We always talk about the police and we talk about, criminal justice officials, but, there's a lot of distrust of government, in general. So it's not only, in one area, and then I think everybody's already talked about, the economy, and how expensive, it is to live in Westchester, and it's getting more and more expensive because of the inflation that is going on right now. And what does that do? I mean, that moves parents out of the house. Both parents have to work now by necessity just to make things, go, to pay the bills, to keep food on the table, to do all the things that we all did for our families, when we were raising them, and that hurts because they're not there, especially in the very early, ages of their children, to be that role model, like Andrea talked about, and George, and Tom Roach about, how their parents were their role models. Mm-hmm. If you're not there, it's very difficult, to be the role model, right. So I think that has kind of gotten us there. And then, I think we all kind of hit on this, but one of the big things, is our direct competition now are the gangs. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have to figure out a way, to channel our kids back through the mainstream good things, that will benefit them, the schools, programs, vocational programs, whatever they may be, instead of having the gang come in and showing them the potential of a lifestyle, that, sometimes we can't compete with, so it's a very, very difficult. It's going to take a long time, even if we focus all of our energies, in trying to deal with that, that dilemma, to correct that, so, there are some of the things, and of course, substance abuse, you heard Erica talk about, crack, from when probably, Donnie, when you and I first started out in this business, crack was, now we have fentanyl, right? Just as bad or maybe worse, mm-hmm. than crack. Right. and all the other, heroin never goes away. We had crack, heroin never went away, right. And never got off the street. So, we're fighting that front. So it seems like we're fighting so many fronts right now, and it makes it very, very difficult, and that's how I feel, that we have gotten here, and then another thing that a lot of people may not see is, and we see it in probation because we handle the orders of protections, that need to go out, to help protect, victims of domestic violence. But domestic violence went on a rise during COVID. When people were, were confined to quarters, it didn't slow down for us. Our business didn't slow down. Unfortunately, that part of our business increased, we saw more domestic violence things happening, so I think, Donnie, back to your original question, how do we reverse this course, is through interventions. We have got to, I always say, Donnie, you're part of the educational system. The schools have got to step up. I mean, yeah. That's got to be the direct channel. We got to, have the schools, provide the programs, make sure that our kids, Donnie, how much did we, when I was up at Westchester County Corrections, talking the emphasis of expanding educational programs, right. for the young people who are up there, so that when, we can get them eventually when they would leave, we would hope to get them to continue, because we know that, education, is it, it really will help.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Rocco.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard somebody saying something. Okay. And I think, giving young people the opportunity to be associated with stable adults, having role models, mentors, is extremely important. Whether it be, coaches, teachers, any adult that can give a positive impact, to young people. We do that. I mean, I really don't want to see this happen, but our probation officers, play a great role, especially in our family court probation officers, working with kids that come through the system, and trying to be, role models for them and helping that, not only them, but helping, the families, because, it's not only the child at times, a lot of times, we need to be working with the families because, parents have their own problems, that they're dealing with, so you just can't look at those things independently. You got to look at them holistically.
Right.
All right. And that's what we're trying to do. So I think those are the, type of things that, we're trying to do. The other thing that we're doing is also a lot of cognitive restructuring. We're running groups, in the probation department for young people so that we can teach them how to make better decisions. All right. And it's a formal program, that we run, and we have, and the kids love it. I mean, once we get them in that group setting and we, start going through some of these exercises that the probation officers have been trained, to administer, these kids have a ball and they're learning, and they're learning how to think, not react, think before you react. So maybe if you do something like that, you're not going to wind up coming through the criminal justice system, which I always say should never be the answer to this.
Right.
I mean, the criminal justice system should not be the answer. I mean, it's been tossed to us to some degree to work with young people and young adults, but the answer really lies in our communities. And I say it's the schools more than anything, because the schools engage these kids, as much time as parents do.
Right.
So, the schools need to step up, and I think a lot of them have, but I think there's still, a lot, that still could be done, to help these young people.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to laud your efforts for a moment, because I think for the benefit of the community, they need to know something. So Rocco and I go back 2 decades, and I used to be president of the New York State Association for Incarcerated Education Programs in the state of New York. And there are 65 of those programs. And I oversaw those programs. And so lo and behold, a guy named Rocco Posey is chosen by the county exec at that time, Spano, to run 2 departments, probation and correction, simultaneously. Didn't have to do it, jumped into it. And the progressive nature of correction prior to him had never been seen before. Rocco made education a priority inside of the jail. Together, he and I created a school that you would never know in a million years. If you walked into a classroom, you were in a jail. A million years. And that is unromantic. This is not news for the outside. This is not lauded on the outside, but I can tell you, having worked as the principal of the BOCES Springbrook Academy and working with this man, that amazing things took place. And those are the unsung stories that you'll never hear. But I'm taking this moment in time to let everybody know that there is courageous action taking place in the county of Westchester. And the man that you're speaking to right now, the man that you're listening to right now, had a lot to do with that. So I thank you for that, Rocco.
Well, and I'm very happy that those programs, Donnie, that we started, not me, we all did this together. I'll tell you a quick story, everybody. I got tired of hearing Donnie Simmons complain to me that he needed more space because he wanted to run more programs up at the facility. And eventually we were able to do that. But the good news is that those programs are still there. and Joe Spano, who is now the commissioner, has not only kept those programs up, but he's added more programs, to the facility, so that we can, work with folks who are up there and get them ready to return back to our community, so that they can be, productive citizens again, and give something back to the community, and Donnie, I just want to quickly say before we move off, is one of the great programs that we run at probation is our community services program for kids. On a Saturday, our probation officers will have, children who have been as a condition of being on, juvenile probation, have to give, some hours back to the community through community service. We pick the kids up and we take them out to some of the county sites, to do, some weed whacking and work in the around in the parks and things like that. And it's amazing, from what my probation officers tell me, the trip back on how good these kids feel about themselves, because it's the first time in their lives that they really gave something back in a positive way to their communities. So I think these are the type of things that we need to be doing for our young people. We need to start teaching them, that violence is not the answer. Okay. Right. Reacting violently to things is not the answer. There are alternatives on how to handle things, and doesn't have to be violence based. That's the message that we got to have. We got to take the guns off the street. I know we hear that all the time, but access to weapons is, it's a problem, Donnie. It's as big a problem as, the drug problem. It's, drugs are killing a lot of people, a lot of kids, and so are weapons. So we got to come up with a solution for that. I know we talked about the SNUG program and some of the other great programs, the GIVE program, which is, specifically aimed at getting the guns off the streets. Okay. But these are the things, that we need to do. And when you look at it in totality, everybody, it's Herculean. Right. And that's why I always say that as the commissioner of probation or the commissioner of corrections or whatever I am, we cannot do this alone. We have to do this together. And the more united we are and the more we work together, the better chance we have of helping our young people in the community. That's my message, Don.
Agreed. And it's a perfect segue, Rocco, to our next panelist, who every time I think of him, I get chills, because this is a young man who has really transformed his world, his life, the meaning of life. He's a father, and he's a good father. Okay, he was a student, one of my best students. And he has an energy that I think is infectious enough to be able to make a difference in this world. And so I want to introduce right now Antoine McPherson. Thank you, Rocco.
You're welcome, Donnie. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Frank, Donnie.
You're welcome. So can we get a spotlight, Tom, on Antoine? Here we go. So Twan, my brother.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm gonna toss a question at you, baby. Okay, and you just take it. So, what role can fathers play in changing where we are today, the current trajectory?
In my opinion, being in the home is very important. My father wasn't really in the home, but he was around, and that for me, that wasn't enough. I was still able to move around and go outside and do the things that I wanted to do. And I felt that where I'm at today, I probably could have already been here a little bit quicker if I would have had someone at home to keep me in line a little bit, per se, because it all starts in the home. Whatever you teach your kids at home is what they go out and bring out into the streets. So yes, the school does play a part, outside does play a part, but it really starts at home. If you have a good inside nurturing, when they go outside, they know to say no to strangers. They know to say no to certain things and to move a certain type of way and to, keep themselves busy in different programs and things like that, with support from the mom and the father, of course. But so for me personally, I feel like that's where it really starts. It really starts in the home. And then once they're able to speak for themselves. And then is to give them the information to allow them to make their own decisions, you know, to see their own dreams and get to where they want to be. Because a lot of the times is we push our fears, parents push their fears on their children. And what happens is that we don't want them to do this or we don't want them to do that. But sometimes what worked for you might not work for them. So I don't want to say school doesn't work. I'm gonna just say you need education, but in this day and time, financial literacy is more important, because a lot of the times most people are taught to just, you know, have a credit card, use it for gas and bills, and that's it. When in all actuality, you can use a credit card to access money, to be able to finance your business or to finance your dreams, to even a down payment on a home, so that way you can have some form of foundation for yourself. So there's a lot of things after, you know, being in the home, starting in the home, you have to actually feed them the right information, so that way when they do get out onto the streets, they're able to be in position, as well as you know, support them on what they want to do.
Now, listen, I know that you have done this yourself. You have leveraged this ability to look at the system, turn it to yourself, bend it to your will, and benefit from. So can you just talk about that for a moment with the audience?
Well, it all first starts with personal credit. You can't do nothing without having good personal credit first. You know, you just got to have your personal credit structured the right way. Just, you know, 10 or more positive accounts reporting, 100% payment history, 2 to 3 inquiries reporting, things like that. And then once your report is structured the right way, from there, you can go into any institution and get $50,000 loan, no stock, no statement, just statement income, no docs required. And then you can also, depending on what institution you go to, you can also get, you know, up to 50 to 100,000 on credit cards as well. Now, if you have a business, you can then leverage that good credit to get, you know, personal guarantor your credit cards and things like that, which then allows you to get access to corporate credit. Now, once you got corporate credit, you're able to touch, you know, millions of dollars.
And would you mind sort of sharing some of the leverage power you've been able to access since you have been on this amazing journey?
I've been able to, I started out with a $1,300 credit card. And then I turned that, I begged my mom, she didn't really want to do it, but I begged her to give me a authorized user on her credit card. She didn't give me the card, she just gave me the AU. From there, I ended up getting one credit card after another credit card after that. And then I bought into a mentorship where I was able to learn the financial system and how it works and how to leverage your credit and things like that. And then once I did that, I was able to leverage my credit report with the credit union. Some credit unions do something called the 30-60-90, where when they run your credit report one time, you can get 2 or 3 credit products out of that one bank. So what I did was I leveraged my credit report, I structured it the right way, and then I went to go to Alliant Credit Union, PenFed Credit Union, DCU Credit Union, and then I was able to get a line of credit, 2 credit cards, a line of credit, 2 credit cards, a line of credit, 2 credit cards. So I was able to use only 3 inquiries and get 9 credit products out of the bank. And then that brought me to 100,000. And once I got to 100,000, I just took 50,000 from that. I put that into my business. I got a secured loan against my business. And then once I did the secured loan against my business, I basically paid it back right away. Little hack, you could pay it back right away. And then you call the bank, you get them to stretch, you pay like 99%, and then you get them to stretch the rest of the payments for the life of the loan, which helps the business grow. And then from there, I took the rest of the money and I just went to different banks and I just put the money in the bank account, 50,000 in the bank account, asked them to open up a personal line of credit and a credit card. And they basically just matched me every time, every bank I went to.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is what today looks like in Antoine. And this is what it can look like for our communities. We just have to have the leveraging power and the will to be able to make it so. So in closing, in the 3 minutes remaining, talk about your journey for a moment. Talk about how you pivoted from where you were to where you are now.
Well, I was in the streets. I was running around. I got caught up with the law a few times. Luckily, I don't really have a record ending that I was able to get youth offender status for the things that I was caught up in. But once I seen the light, I went to school by myself, tried to bring a few of my friends with me, but they didn't want to do the things that I was doing. So I did it by myself. And then I ended up in WCC. When I got into WCC, I had my son. And once I had my son, it just turned in a different volume into me. It just made me want to do better for myself, because I can't take care of him if I'm not in position. So I need to get myself in position first before I can even take care of him. And I wasn't in position. So with that being said, I had to, I met one of my professors actually brought me to Mr. Simmons. And then from there, I just, met up with him a few times, and he just kept me going. A few times I was, a little bit to the left, coming in with a little attitude and things like that. And he was just making me understand that I can't let every little thing bother me, and there's things going on around me, things like that. So from there, I graduated. I'm still in school now. I'm in Lehman College doing my bachelor's for respiratory therapy. It was respiratory therapy, but now I'm doing oh my gosh, administrative assistance. So now I'm kind of at the point where I'm about to do my internship, but now I'm gaining access to more and more money. I'm getting access to more and more information. And I don't really want my income to be, I don't want to be bottled at a certain type of income. I want to be free. So I'm just stuck in between if I want to continue school or if I want to, continue this business path that I'm doing right now. So that's how I got to where I'm at today. Really just having my son. Now I got a daughter now. So that's even more drive to continue doing what I'm doing.
It's perfect. It's perfect, brother. I'm so glad that you were able to be with us today because you are marquee. You are marquee, and you're important. You're important to this discussion. You're important to what we're doing, the work that we're doing, and you will be a continued featured person in this realm. Okay, so thank you very much. And this is time to pivot over to Ernest. Ernest, can you hear me?
For having me.
You're welcome. I know you said you were on the phone. You can hear us from the phone. Are you there, my friend? Okay, I think we're still having some technical difficulties. So I'm gonna go to Jesus. Jesus, are you there? Is Jesus are there? Hey, Tom, do you see him?
I don't.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip this back over to Damon. So Damon was able to give us an amazing expository of what the aggregate programs are doing. Okay, so this is a question that's going to double back to that. What is your agency doing to mitigate or prevent violence in the community?
There are several programs. I know Rocco mentioned the GIVE program, which stands for Gun Involved Violence Elimination, and that's DCJS's program working with law enforcement to look at hotspot policing and very, very pointed looking at certain people that are causing violence and kind of targeting those people. They do it throughout the state in 17 counties. My office is doing the SNUG program, which is looking at using a public health approach to addressing violence. Like I said, we're looking at the top, 2-3% of young people that are most likely to shoot somebody or get shot, and really trying to intervene and interrupt their cycle of violence. As Erica talked about, that disease of violence where, if something happens to my brother or my friend, that disease is passed to me, and then I want to go back and get revenge. So we're trying to stop that disease of violence right there, and then also change the mindset, because in our communities, we know things that don't happen in other communities. Like we say, oh, the summertime's coming, so somebody's going to get shot and killed. Like that's not normal, right? So we really looking at changing what is normal in the community and what our normal response to things are. So the SNUG program is very intimately involved in interruption of violence right there on the street, using violence interrupter credible messengers. People have been in trouble or have been in those situations before that have now wanted to change their lives and come back and pour into young people. So we're doing that. We're also doing a lot of healing work. We went out to California. We not went out anymore because everybody does everything by Zoom, but we work with some people in California, Dr. Jen Wright, with the healing centered engagement work, and we really looked at what does healing look like in our community. Part of it is to one, you want to be able to give people purpose. You want to be able to work with young people and give them agency to think that they are able to change their situation. You want to help young people aspire, and you want to build relationships, right? Like healing really starts with building relationships. I heard you and the young man, Mr. McPherson, talking, and it sounded like you guys had a relationship, which is part of the healing process, right? So we as adults have to have relationships with young people to help start that healing. So we're looking at, how do we start to heal our communities? So those are just a small part of the program. Like I said, we're doing the RISE program, and we're really focusing on leaving our impact on smaller grassroots organizations that have been locked out of funding in the past, just from the way the state does funding, and really how do we empower those to really get out there, do the work, and give them the support and the back end help that they need to make sure that they can now focus and concentrate on doing the work. So those are just some of the programs that we're looking to do, because we understand violence in the community doesn't affect just the shooter or the victim, right? Those people are not independent. They don't live in a vacuum, because so now that shooter has a family, and nobody's family, nobody's mother, nobody's father is happy to say my son is the best shooter in whatever city they're on, right? So I saw the young man from UVA, his father got on last night and apologized. Like, I'm sorry that that my son took these other kids' lives. And those other kids have parents and families. And not only are those people hurting, but the whole community of the college is hurting. And so we all suffer through this trauma because of violence. So, we're really looking at how are we able to help the communities deal in the aftermath of violence, right? Is that having culturally competent mental health services, not only having cultural competent mental health services, what does the access look like, right? Do you have to have some type of insurance? Are you going into a building that says mental health, and we know the stigma of mental health? Or can we do mental health in different non-traditional places? So really, our SNUG program has social workers that will actually do the social work out on the street. I see Yokasta, the hip hop yogi on here, and we've done some hip hop therapy with her. We had all our staff trained in hip hop therapy, which is great, right? So we want to look at non-traditional ways to engage young people in these populations, because we know that just because you aren't a shooter or the victim of the shooter, that doesn't mean that you haven't been affected by violence in the community. So we're really looking at trying to wrap our arms around the whole of the community, so that the community can help deal in these aftermaths of when violence does happen, so we can rally around it and not, kind of go all into our different silos, but really wrap our arms around the family, the young people, and everybody who's been affected by that.
Yo, bro, you're a stone cold gift.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on here. I really appreciate that.
This is inspiring. There's some good work being done. And so before we go to Q&A, I just want to give everyone the last word on this panel. So I'm going to start with Antoine first, brother. Do you have any parting comments or statements you'd like to offer to the community?
Hey, Donnie, can you hear me?
Oh, Ernest. Okay, yeah. Ernest.
Man, that's been a adventurous trip here today. Oh my God. Well, I know we're running out of time, and Brother Damon, good to see you, man. Again, I mean, those are some thought-provoking questions you put out there, Brother Simmons, and obviously there's no silver bullet, right? I think Sister Ford talked about, sort of the dynamic and, the breakdown of the family and the, what's done good in our community tend not to get publicized. And, so I think, and she hit spot on with the trauma issue. So, there's a lot of stuff we're dealing with from the Youth Bureau standpoint. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to work for a county exec and a boss who is from some of those tough neighborhoods. Dr. Damien Harris is from Mount Vernon. She knows what real programs look like. So when she came on board, one of the things that we did was every program we wanted to have it, be viewed from an equity lens, right? We have all these programs, but if people are not getting in the program and people are not getting value out of the program, then there's a problem. Right. And so every program that we have in our arsenal, if you would, it's done with sort of the equity lens. And there's two things that I want to hit on just before we transition to the last part of the program. Sure. I almost like to think that, what we do as funding agency and as administrators, almost twofold, right? Because this gun violence initiative, it's around the country, and New York is no different to it. And certainly, Westchester, we have this false sense of security that we're okay. Thanks to the support of Senator Andre Stewart-Cousins this past summer, we launched some programs in Yonkers and Mount Vernon, and one of them, Sister Erica touched on it in terms of that credible messenger, and Brother Damon with the SNUG program, some of the same people that was involved, is finding someone who may have been justice involved and now they've turned their life around, and then they become the messenger. So one of the things that we try to do here at the Youth Bureau is no youth programs without youth input. So we have a youth council that we call on them when we're looking for programs to bring in the community. We rely heavily on our Youth Bureau partners. One of the things, and the young man that spoke, that was your former student, Anton, he reminded me of some of the young people that we saw this summer, right? So we have these two tracks. We have these tracks with young people who have been justice involved, and what that service looked like may be different. And then we have young people who we consider to be at risk, right? They're one meeting away, they're one meeting up in the corner away from being in potentially in a gang. So we had the fortunate opportunity this summer to go around the county, and we were in about 7 different communities, and we talked to these young men of color. And Brother Anton hit it right on the head. One of the young men, or a group of the young men, was saying, "Hey, I want to be in a program where I'm going to meet a trusted adult who's going to look out for my best interest and may even serve as a mentor." Another group of young people talked about, "I want to know what's out there for me. I may be in middle school, I may be in high school now. Is there a group that can work with me to give me information?" So as Brother Anton was talking about the connection that you and him have established, we're hearing that around the county. And that's what we want to do when we look to implement new programs into 23 and beyond. Those are some of the things that we want to take into account. No programming without youth input, first and foremost. And when we have those young people who may have went on the other side of the law, and we certainly believe in second and third chances, what do those programs look like? And so programs like a credible messenger, and I know we're looking to do some credible messenger work up in the Peekskill area as well. So again, I know, we're pressed for time, and again, my apologies. I don't know what was going on with this, my mic on my computer, but I absolutely enjoyed all of the dialogue. And I think the different version that you've heard speaks to the complexity of this issue.
Yes, sir.
Frank runs a fantastic program with Grandpa United. And so those young people are engaged, right? So those young people, we know they're on a path. And as long as we continue to be there, they're going to excel. I see Brother McDonald here, and he has the Black Diamonds program in Peekskill. So those young people are going to excel. But what about those young people who may have crossed the line and may have become justice involved? What do we do with those young people?
I think it's messaging, right? It's messaging, and it's messaging from the Antoines of the world, okay, can identify because they're young people and they can identify with that next level up and that shared experience. And see, they can only believe a thing when they see a thing, you know, and he is the closest example of that thing that they need to see.
And
understanding the intricacies of the system. This is what Antoine brings to the game, because he's been through the system, in the system, of the system. And then when they see the joining of you and I to him, now they can better relate to us.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think, you know, we heard loud and clear that, you know, programs are there, and, you know, those successful programs that where they have the young people come on a daily basis, there's a trusted adult there, right? There's someone there who that person says, you know, this person has my best interest, because I may not have it at home, and society may have painted a picture that, you know, the breakdown of the family, but I have it in this place when I go, if it's the youth bureau, if it's the Carver Center or what have you. So complicated questions, but I think programs that we've been discussing, it's, you know, we just got to keep at it. You know, I grew up in an old school where it was each one teach one, right? So we got to go back to, you know, grabbing somebody and pulling them up, and when they get off course a little bit, we need to make sure we're still there for them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this is beautifully timed. Thank you, Ernest. I'm glad you were able to get on. Your voice is important. You know, you've been a friend and colleague for forever, and we continue this work, and we continue this work. So we're at 7:40, and Tom, are there any questions in the queue?
Doesn't look like it at this time.
Okay. Hearing none, what I'm going to do is I just want to thank all the panelists. This has been phenomenal. Your time is precious and scarce. And the fact that we were able to bring you all together in this moment, in this time, is wonderful. And it's wonderful for all. So I'm going to hand the mic back over to Frank.
Thank you, Donnie, and thank all of our panelists. This certainly has been inspirational. Before I bring forth our panelists, I want to introduce Karen Himes from the New York State My Brother's Keeper, and I would just like for her to just say a word or two. Karen, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Tom, can you put a spotlight on Karen? Now, the New York State has a phenomenal program. They put in millions of dollars for My Brother's Keeper, and I know that we know about MBK, so I just want to give her a minute or two just to say a word about MBK and where we are and the importance of My Brother's Keeper. So, Tom, if you can find Karen Himes and put a spotlight on her, and then after that, we'll go right into our next presentation.
Okay. Karen, do you have your video up?
I do not have my video up because I've been listening in the car because I've been driving my daughter and grandchildren around.
Okay, no problem. You could just have a conversation like this.
Okay, sure. I really appreciate what you put on tonight. It was excellent. Anybody who's here really got their time's worth. And I do want to point out that the MBK Fellows Grant was released today for 2022 to 2026. So please get your applications in. It's a request for application. So as long as you're a community, you can't be denied. You just have to make the December 7th deadline. So that'll hook you up with fellows for the next 4 years.
Okay. So, and we know that the MBK Fellows and the work that we're all doing in terms of My Brother's Keeper is important because I think we've all heard that intervention is one of the important elements of engaging and providing pathways for our young people to go on and live a productive life. So Karen, thank you, and thank the New York State Department of Education for these funds to help empower and improve our young people so that they can grow up healthy and safe and become productive members of our community. And thank you for your work up in Albany.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. This is definitely my passion.
Thank you. Well, we have two phenomenal men who are doing the work with the National Fatherhood Clearinghouse. And, you know, the issue is that the National Fatherhood Clearinghouse is a resource for all of us. not only do they do research, but they are also engaged in bringing forth resources and opportunities and connecting people to the opportunities that are needed in our community. And you know, in terms of the work that we're doing in terms of fatherhood, it's so important that we collaborate and that we partner. So in this next segment, we have Eugene Steinberg and Mr. James Worthy. They're both engaged in consulting and in operations with respect to the National Fatherhood Clearinghouse. So I want to bring them up. Can you, Tom, can you put the spotlight on them? And they are going to talk a little bit about resources that are available in our community throughout the nation. So James, are you there?
Yes, unless he's a 516 area code, James is not listed as a participant, and neither is Eugene.
James, neither James or Eugene are there?
Correct.
All right. So if they're not there, let's just open this up, and why don't we put the full gallery, Tom, back on the faith, and we want to just talk a little bit about what our takeaways and where we go from here. We're going to further this presentation coming up in January 24th. We're going to be discussing starting the response with self and family, and then in March we're going to be talking about starting the response with community and economic and social well-being. So January is family, and then in March is family. So let's just talk, have a roundtable conversation for the next few minutes, and then I'm going to turn it back to you, Tom, in terms of talking about how we measure what we've done this evening. So are there any? Let's just have people weigh in and talk about what they've heard tonight.
So if you have a question or some feedback about tonight, you can go down to the reactions, and you just click on the reactions, and you can raise your digital hand.
Yeah, and I'll start, Tom. I think Erica gave a great presentation. She talked about the ills of our community, which started years ago, and she talked about her work, her intervention, and her collaboration with federal, state, local communities, and how that work is changing lives. She talked about working with schools and challenge members of our community. But what my takeaway with Erica is, she mentioned to be present, right? And we talked about that, and Antoine talked about his father, but he had the strength and courage to find resources in the community. He talked about Professor Donnie Simmons and his efforts to change this narrative. How important, and I'll put this out to everybody, how important is, and Damon, you can comment on it, how important is it for men to be present in the lives of our young people? Our grandfathers are doing that. Their mentoring programs are doing that. You know, if we leave young people to their own decisions and vices, we're going to have some trouble. The mentoring and the Black Diamonds and Peekskill and those kinds of programs, how important is touching the children where they are? You talked about being a social worker and meeting our kids where they are. How important is it to be present in the lives of the Antoines in our community?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I think it's extremely important, and we know just from the data which shows where mentoring is, and what mentoring does, and the better outcomes in school, and the better outcomes of touching the juvenile justice system. So mentoring has been a huge piece of it, and I think part of the healing process when we look at it is that relationships are where it all starts, right? The healing starts with relationships, and for far too long, our men have been taken away from the home, whether it's through gun violence in a casket or being in a prison cell. So I really do believe that men being around in the community to work with young men and also young women, because a big part of it is relationships, how we relate to, how men are supposed to relate to women, how women are supposed to relate to men, and how men are supposed to relate to men. I think they set that example, and we know that everything is a learned behavior. So if there's nobody, if there's not men around to teach you how men should behave in communities, then there's no way for our young people to learn it except for other places that might not be showing the best example, whether that's TV, with how they portray Black men on TV, or whether that's in some of the music where they talk about shooting and killing and being in gangs, or what, so there's all these spaces where, men have to be there, where we can be touched, where we can be asked questions, and where we can tell our story. And it's okay to also tell young people that we've messed up, right? Because nobody's perfect. Nobody's had this perfect life and got to where they are because everything's been perfect. And I think young people need to hear that. And I'm a big fan of building relationships with young people.
Thank you, Damon. I know that James Worthy is here, but before I go to James, I see that Brother Ed Lawson has a point that he want to raise. And after Ed raises this point, we're going to go to James Worthy with the National Fatherhood Clearinghouse. Ed.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose the moment. We're getting all of this rich information, and Damon has mentioned a couple of times, and Donnie and Antoine prefigured this relationship thing. And there is no real space where we learn how to be in relationship. So some of our programs need to be able to advance that agenda, to be able to help us understand what healthy relationships look like. How do you resolve conflicts? One of the quotes I'd like to share and leave with this group with is something that Martin Luther King said. And he said, the ultimate measure of a man is not determined in moments of comfort or convenience, but rather in moments of conflict and controversy. And what we need to help our young people understand, and what we all need to understand, is how do we relate to each other in a way that's healthy, redemptive, and restorative. And so I just don't want all those diamonds that these panelists have been sharing, to let that pass us without really grasping hold to what was said and what we witnessed between Donnie and Antoine. And I want to say that the pathology of our young people is not that they're all bad. In fact, I think it's the reverse. I think that they're all good. And we're waiting to see the excellence that it abounds within them. And it's our job to build those relationships so they can reach their full potential. So thanks, Frank, for giving me a moment.
Thank you, Ed, and I appreciate that comment. You're absolutely right with that. And so we're going to turn this over to James Worthy. James is with the National Fatherhood Clearinghouse. And he's going to talk a little bit about resources and connecting us with those opportunities that are available with the National Fatherhood Clearinghouse. James, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right, let me get my camera on and get with you guys. Hold on. There we go. I think I'm on now. Can you see me? Welcome.
Yes.
All right. Well, first and foremost, hey guys, I truly, truly appreciate being here today. And I wish I could have been here for all the rich conversation, because I know if you got Brother Ed Lawson sharing information, and I see Professor Simmons, I'm seeing people that I know. I see just some great people on here. And I know there's been a rich conversation. And I just want to really take a few moments to share what is available as far as resources are concerned for those who truly want to work with dads and make an impact in families. When Barbara gave us the great opportunity to be with you guys this evening, one of the things that she asked was, can you bring people up about the resources? Now, I don't know if I can share a PowerPoint with you, so I want to ask that question up front. Can I share my screen or not? Or
you sure can. I'm going to make you co-host.
And while you do that, guys, let me give you a little bit of my background and how I come to this and where I come to this from, as far as providing services to fathers and families. For probably the better of the last 30 years. I know I don't look like 30. I must have started when I was 1. No, I'm now 55 years old. For the better of 30 years, I have been blessed to be doing work either directly with dads in communities such as Baltimore City, or I have been training and working with organizations around the country from the East Coast all the way out to the West Coast and everywhere in between. And the one thing that I know all of us believe in is to give children the best opportunities possible. And when we start talking about violence and we start talking about safety and health and all those things that children are impacted by, there is one variable, which should not be a variable. There's one variable who, when that variable is accessed and used, outcomes for children in every area of their life gets better. And we all know what that variable is. DADDY. When we can get a daddy, a father, and actively engaged and involved, things change for children. And there are resources to help you help dads. And I don't know if you know who the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse is, but I got to give you a little bit of my background. I got a partner in this business, in this work, Mr. Eugene Schneeberg. He apologized. He was going to be here tonight, but I can't leave him out because I want to use him as an example of what it takes to make it when daddy isn't there. See, I come from a background, I grew up with my father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, all within about a 4 to 6 block radius. How many of y'all know I wanted father absentee? I wanted him to go away. I swear to God, I couldn't do nothing wrong, guys. Couldn't get no girls over the house. Couldn't do none of that stuff because daddy and dads were always around. So I came up with these understandings that my father taught me when to be violent, when not to, how to get past the fight, how to treat women, how to act when your people might do you wrong, not to just emotionally go over the top. How many of you notice some of our young men today, because they don't have that model of emotional intelligence, we see our young men in our families and our community just go hog wild over the craziest things. Anybody ever seen that? Anybody said just guys just emotionally going somewhere they don't need to go to? It's just not that serious, as the young people say. So I grew up with these examples. But my partner here, Mr. Eugene Schneeberg, the author, and I want to show this. I don't know if y'all can see this in my thing. The author of the book, I Never Met My Father. Now, this is a guy who grew up in Boston, in the projects of Boston, and he talks about the decisions he had to make. And fortunately, listen to this, guys, like so many of our young brothers, he got saved because of a relationship. He got saved because, not just his relationship with God, yes, but he got saved because of a relationship with a young woman who is his wife today of over 20 years. They started dating when he was 14 years old. And her family fortunately had a daddy in the house who saw a young man trying, and he became a resource for this gentleman right here and taught him manhood and how to be the father and the man he is today. So as we work together, our goal in life is to make sure that everybody that's doing this work has an opportunity to show daddies what is available. And I'm happy to say that the federal government, the Department of Health and Human Services, has kicked off for the last almost 20 years now, the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse. How many people are actively using or familiar with the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse? And if y'all not on camera, I don't know what's been going on today. Y'all better come on camera because I need to talk to you. I need to see you. I need to wave. There you go. See my man, Mr. McPherson, with the beautiful smile. Brother Scott, what's going on? How you doing out there, my dog? Good to see Daryl. There you go. There we go. Hey there. I want to have interaction, guys. This is the guy I am. I got to be in your face. I got to talk to you guys because the reality is the Department of Health and Human Services have been putting this together. It's free for everybody, for fathers, practitioners, researchers, policymakers, the public at large. It's the repository for all things fatherhood. And I want each and every one of you to actively be an advocate of this National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse. I want you to have every opportunity to share these resources, to use these research, to build your services, to get better with the dads you work with, to help a dad out every now and then. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is go to fatherhood.gov and join our listserv. That's right. We got a QR code. If you're on your computer and you can't screenshot, go ahead, grab your phone and hit that QR code. Takes you straight to our website, fatherhood.gov. Why do I want you on this website? Because this website is the repository for all of our resources. Did I say they were free? I did say they were free. Okay, they're not free. Let me be honest about it. Your tax dollars already paid for it. So they're yours. You bought it already. Even if you didn't know you purchased it. It's like a subscription to Netflix. Somebody bought it and you just use it. Okay, so the reality is, guys, you have access. Now, what does this access give you? First of all, I want you guys to join the virtual collaborative community. We're going to put a New York fatherhood group together. What is the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse virtual collaborative community? What is it? What does it do? What I want to do is take 2 seconds to show you exactly what this community is all about. This community was built with you in mind. Let me share it with you. The NRFC welcomes all who work to support fathers, families, and children to our virtual collaborative community. Fathers are important to strong families and a strong society. So we're leveraging this online platform to connect volunteers, practitioners, program managers, and more. The NRFC team has brought members access to a wide variety of resources, including, but not limited to, group forums where you can join conversations and discuss specific topics with your peers, connections with local, state, and national leaders in your states, a robust resource library that includes research findings, data, articles, program service information, and more, a library of NRFC webinars, the ability to download webinar content, suggest new topics, and discuss subjects you've watched. This community was built for you. If you facilitate fatherhood programs, work with special populations, or are looking for a group of peers with whom you can share best practices, we're here for you. Get started today. We look forward to connecting with you, sharing knowledge, and advancing the field of responsible fatherhood. Go to learningcommunity.fatherhood.gov to register and join in the conversation. Guys, the great thing about the collaborative community is it's a space for a conversation like this to keep going. Somebody today you heard gave some great information. You'd love to keep in touch with them. But what generally happens? We see each other. I know me and Scott Leacher, that's my guy. But you know what? Do you know when we usually see each other? Scott, at this conference? I think we did it virtually last year. We seen each other in person. Me and Scott been seeing each other at conferences for the last 2 decades or so. But the reality is that gentleman, every time he talks to me, gives me something good I can move with. And we say the same thing. Dog, we got to stay in touch. Scott, haven't we said it? Man, we got to keep in touch. How many of y'all done told somebody that you've been to a conference with, or maybe even here today, you heard somebody speak. You said, oh, I got to catch up with Professor. Anybody ever did that? Oh, I'm the only one. Y'all not even going to go with me on this. But the reality is we say it and then we get back to work. And what happens? The conference rolls back around and I see my dog Scott again. I can't believe, Scott, it's been a year. Now, yes, we done emailed and he done sent me some information, but it's been a year since I actually saw his face, laughed with him, and asked questions and got that connection. Do you know how much Scott has learned and done during the year? That I could have been talking to him through the whole year, through some of the trials and tribulations that I've gone through with some fathers. Well, this group, this virtual collaborative community is where we keep that conversation going. What if Scott and I were in this and I hit him on a notification, like direct message? Hey, Scott, working with some fathers up in New York, need some resources. You got anything for me? Boom. He gets a little notification on his phone, hit me back, just like we DMing each other. How many of y'all know that's the way the world go right now? DM, okay? So this is that community where everything is housed. We have special interest groups, fathers as leaders, positive reentry for fathers, women in the fatherhood field. And I mean, this is just a quick snippet of some of the groups we have in there. We have parenting in a violent world. We've done all types of different things around that. Guys, it's here for you. As a matter of fact, there's webinars on co-parenting. How many of y'all deal with some dads that's going through some issues with their co-parent? Anybody? Anybody? How many of you have dealt with some children that are out there that's getting caught up in violence at school, bullying? There might be domestic violence in somebody's background. There's all this going on. There's webinars to train, to talk about best practices. Some of the best in the country are sharing resources and things that are helpful and best practices to help fathers deal with these situations. But the key is we've got to keep the information fresh. How many of you know that sometimes we're operating off stale material? Anybody ever got stale material? You know what worked in 2012? How many of y'all know it might not be working in 2022? See, I'm gonna give y'all something that some people were blown away. I was just in where am I coming back from? I just came back from Vegas, got back on Sunday from a conference, and I'm working with judges, guys. Judges, lawyers, psychology. It was the AFCC conference. It's the Association of the American Federation of Conciliation Courts. These are all the big wigs who are adjudicating, making decisions, putting policy together for the families we serve. How many of you know sometimes they disconnected with what's going on the street? Would you believe me on that? Would you believe me? So I'm sitting there talking to them, and they're telling me about things that they did in 2012. And I said, guys, do you know that 2020 changed everybody's service, everybody's life? And I said, hey, guys, if you need to keep in touch with a dad that's under 35, what phone number do you get from him? They were like, oh, you got to get his cell phone number. I said, oh, really? I said, do you know most of those guys change cell phones like most of us change underwear? How many of y'all know that? How many of y'all know? Especially if you're in the midst of something. Y'all got any dads that ain't quite got out the street yet? Anybody got that dad? You know, he trying, but you got a professor. You'd have seen him. He tried, but he got one foot still out here for them streets. And the reality is he got a throwaway cell phone. And that's what he gonna give you as the official one of them people. Y'all do know we are one of those. Y'all do know we them people, right? Y'all didn't know that. Scott thought he was cool as heck till he found out he's one of those people. Professor thought he was down with the brothers. You know how they look at all of us? I don't mess with them people. We them people. Did y'all know we them people? Because we are part of a system that our guys don't generally trust. So they might give us a phone number, but it's the burner. Anybody know what a burner phone is? Come on now. I'm 55. I know y'all young people know. So the reality is that number could be different in 30 days. Anybody ever had a client that you go to call them and the number different in 30 days? Anybody? So I said, what number you get? They were like, well, maybe his girlfriend. I said, that could change in the next week. So what number you get? He said his mother number. Mother sick of his little tail. She'd have been bailing him out of jail since he was 2. And he said, well, James, we confused. I said, you need his nana number. You got to get his grandmama number. How many of y'all know you got to get? How many of y'all know y'all grandmama number ain't changed ever? How many of y'all grandmother number the same as when you was a little boy or girl? Look, my man Deshaun over there cracking up. He know his nana number the same. I don't care if you go to jail. I don't care if you in the street. I don't care if you move away. I don't care if you go to the military. Your nana can find you. How many of y'all nana, if she's still alive, can find you? Come on now, let's talk about it. So that's the first number. That's the first number. You know the second number they didn't even know? You got to get his DM. You got to get his Instagram DM. Come on now. Hey, guys, come on. He might throw that burner number away, but ain't his DM the same no matter what phone he carrying? Come on, come on. So these are the things that we talk about. We help people understand in the blog talk. See, in today's game, guys, virtual is real. And you're going to have to build a relationship with guys and families virtually. How many of y'all been doing groups or seeing clients or dealing with clients on the virtual for the last 2 years, especially? We're going to have to get good at that. And how do we do that? You got to have every one of your resources tangible, whether it be a piece of paper you put in their hand or electronic, something you can give them. That's why this resource clearinghouse is so important, because you can download, you can text, you can send the documents or the video or whatever you're trying to share. If you're doing a group, you can give everybody the group material that you're talking from, and it's all free. You can print it out. You can put your own logos on it. Everything is right there for you to use. So if you need some fresh stuff, that's our job. We're on the cutting edge of putting out the most recent information, the most recent studies, up-to-date new tools and kits and all of those things. And you can search the website to find anything. You can search this website. If you want to see something on violence, as a matter of fact, I know I wanted to talk a little bit about violence today, but I got to get ready to wrap up. I only got a few more minutes with you guys. But one of the things that I did, I was coming back and I did a quick search about fatherhood and safety, children, and safety against violence. Because I'm really hearing in our communities, and I know this conference is really addressing having safe, thriving communities. But how many of you sick of the, if you like I am, you probably don't even turn the news on, but how many of y'all sick of hearing about the shooting, the killing, the next set of kids that's got killed? I mean, come on, guys. I'm in Maryland. How many of y'all were blown away by the 3 football players that got shot on the bus in Virginia? I mean, come on, man. Can you imagine sending your little one off to college and he get gunned down at college? I grew up in Southeast DC. My mom and them worked hard for 18 years to keep me from getting gunned down on the streets. They sent me to Penn State University up in the middle of the Nittany Mountains. The last thing they want to hear is I got shot and killed up there. But how are we helping dads educate their children? How are we helping dads deal with the pains that come with this? What are we doing? So one of the things that we have is spotlights written for dads by dads. This one I love, that unbreakable bond, the strength of a father's love. Guys, this is a piece that I use in any session I do. This was written for dads by dads. And it really is rooted in scientific research and all of this, but that bond, the earlier you can help a dad build that bond with his kids, the more likely that kid is not going to stray into the world or the streets, as they say. How many of y'all know this is true to be? How many of y'all know this is to be true? I mean, come on, can I get an amen? I know we got Pastor Smith here. I know we can get an amen. The reality is, guys, that we want to have resources. I mean, and then if you need something about getting dads involved in custody and child support, because how many of you know that child support, custody, all of that makes that relationship a little tender? Anybody know that? That could spark up some baby mama, baby daddy drama, can it? And if the children, if you see your daddy and your mommy going at it all the time, how many of you know that young child is harboring some anger? That child is harboring some anger. So now when that child is in a relationship or that child sees an argument coming up or gets into a confrontation, how many of you know that child is probably going to lash out? Would you agree with me? See, if we really want to start to address what's going on in our communities, the violence, the things that are happening, the just disconnect, we have got to start to get the dad involved. And I'm going to go here. We got to get all of our dads, all of our families to really understand what it takes to have a healthy relationship. And I'm not talking a love interest. I'm talking healthy relationships between boys and boys. Healthy relationship be boys and girls. Happy relationships with the mother and the son, or the mother and the daughter, and the dad and the son. See, because the reality is, if you can't correct me if you're not connected to me. Let me give you that. Well, that's James. Y'all can write that down. I let the trademark go on that. You can't correct me if you're not connected to me. Y'all remember back in the day, I see some people on here with some wisdom. I see some wisdom. Brother Dennis got a little wisdom, or he just got the flyest white hair I ever seen. But he got a little wisdom here, okay? Here's the reality, guys. Y'all remember back in the day when we was young, everybody in the community that was an elder would correct your tale. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Y'all remember that? I remember Miss Good, Miss Plater, Miss Wiggins, Miss Kane. I couldn't act a fool around the neighborhood because they called me right up on their boy, get up here. And then you know what? They call around to my mama, my grandmother. Hey, Miss Eva, I got Jimmy round here, the fool. How many of y'all know that's how it used to be because we were all connected? Y'all remember those neighborhood days and everybody was connected? You knew even Mr. Jones or Mr. Smith, who was the drunk in the alley. Everybody knew him. Y'all remember them days? Oh, am I the only one that grew up in that type of environment? Or y'all grew up on farms or something? Okay, the reality is that's what I grew up in. Now, how many of y'all know you don't know the neighbor that live across the street from you? You know? I built a new house last year. I made it my duty to meet everybody that moved into a new home in all 26 of these houses in this community. I met each one of them. Went to their front door, said, hey, I'm your neighbor right around here. I'm James. Let's make sure we trade numbers, keep in touch. I got 3 boys, here their pictures. You see these little nuts out here acting crazy, you better call me. Now, my boys are grown. But the reality is I want them to know a whole family come with them. So you don't ever have to look at them as those boys. How many of y'all sometimes see kids out the street and you know they ain't got no home training? Anybody ever just seen one of them kids that they ain't got no home training? You just see them. So we want to work with these. These are all resources, guys. I'm not going to take a lot of your time, but I want you to know that these resources are here. But I also want you to know that we have a way for you to use these resources to recruit more dads. How many of y'all in programs where you want to get dads involved? You want to get them engaged. You want to work with them. Anybody working with dads in a community environment? Doing all right. Great. I'm going to talk a little bit about getting that DM and using text message marketing to get in touch with them. But then to have the imagery, the messaging to let them know that they're important to you. Okay. We have taken years developing a series of PSAs, commercials, 15-second, 30-second. They're vignettes, they're videos. We even have a full a dedication documentary. I want all of you to go to YouTube, look up dedication, write that down, dedication, dedication, DADICATION. I'm gonna show it to you in a minute, but I want you to go there. I want you to hit this QR code. If you don't do anything else for me right now, grab your phone. Come on, grab your phone. Just to grab your phone for me and go ahead and hit that QR code so you can pull up the dedication media kit. Why do I want you to do this, guys? Because we have started working with programs who are trying to recruit virtually because they hadn't gotten back into the offices yet, and they're doing a lot of things virtually. Well, we've taken all of these vignettes, and now think about this. You DM dads, say, hey man, we having a father's group, we having a get together. We really want you here. As a matter of fact, check this quick video out about how powerful dads are and why we want you so bad to be with us. And you send them a 30-second spot that hits them in the heart. And I'm going to share with you one of them that hits a lot of brothers in the heart. Let me pull this up real quick. Come on, let's go. Come on, don't play with me. There we go. Come on. Technology don't ever want to act right.
What's more dangerous? A man who isn't afraid of death or one who's found everything to live for? I asked him if he was proud of me. He emphatically said yes, as he laid his pecan-colored head on my chest. And I went through my mind 1,000 times to figure out what that could possibly mean.
Y'all can't see it? Y'all can't see it? Could y'all see it?
We can only hear it.
You can you? Okay.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it.
Half the people are saying they can see it. Scott, you ain't on that. You ain't on that HP from around the neighborhood, are you?
They on that HP from around the neighborhood.
I got too many screens up. That's what. Okay.
He was on that HP. Me and Scott go way back. I can only say that to him because I love him.
And every single example ended in motivation for me. So you may not be afraid to die, but I'm more afraid to let them down. And I found something to live for, which is a dangerous motive forever fueled. See, your thoughts may be involuntary, but my actions are very calculated. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. My sons ain't raised by no coward, and they won't be one either. If this be the measure of a man, the yardstick gonna need way more meters. I take it too far, so they never come up short, because I found everything to live for.
How many of y'all think if you asking a father to come be with you and you share them that, show them how much you appreciate dads, how many you think you might catch a little bit of his attention? Just a little bit. Look, we got head starts. We got head starts sending that out in text messages to their dads saying we having a fathers get together. This is how important you are to us. Look, any of y'all work with dads who might be overcoming abuse, substance abuse, been in a bad way? Oh, we addressed that too. Hold on, I got another one for you.
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I overdosed on heroin and I lived. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I found the fatherhood program and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. My desire to change had finally outweighed my desire to stay the same. I felt powerless for so much of my life that it's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. For the first time, I finally feel like I'm exactly where I should be, where I want to be.
Now, if I was in front of you right now, I'd say, how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
See, sometimes you got to address the issue and give imagery that say, we ain't judging you. We want you to be here because you empower those children. So these are just some of the newer dedication videos we have. If you need to find a program somewhere around the country, one of your guys move out of New York and going somewhere else, we got that. Man, I see Miss Donna Linder on here, one of my favorite people. And we got the toolkit. We've had that for years, but I got to talk about this right here, guys. One of my favorite people, Miss Donna Linder. Look, it has been incredible, the work that Parent Help has done with us. See, we have the only hotline in the country that's dedicated to fathers. So if there's a resource you don't have, you want to find, you got somebody that needs some help and you don't provide what they may need, give them the phone number 1-877-4DAD-411, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're praying, and I might not say this out loud because Donna might get on the next meeting with me and curse me out, but I'm praying that we have to take this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because how many of you know it's in them dark points that dads usually reach out? You know, it's usually in that dark space, because that's how we do as men. We try and go at it as hard as we can, even to the point we know we ain't got no more left in this, at that rock bottom, that we decide to make a phone call. And unfortunately, that's usually at night, ain't it, guys? When it get quiet enough, then the only person you can hear is your own thoughts. Isn't that when you start making some decisions? Some of us had to make that in prison. When they closed them doors, I don't know nobody that ever went to jail, that when they closed them doors and turned off them lights and you sitting on that cell, sitting on that bed, I don't know one guy who ain't done this. I got to do something. If you ever been there, if you ever worked with a guy that's been there, Anthony, you know, you done talked to some brothers when they had to have that. That's what this line is. If they need to know everything from I don't know how to change diapers to I might hurt myself, they can get help through the Parent Help program. Miss Donna Linder runs that, man. I love hearing her reports about how many dads. But here's the thing. It's 4 dads, but you know who called the most? Can I tell y'all who called the most? Go ahead. Y'all think y'all know. Nope. You know who called the most? Nana. Because how many of y'all know Nana go find something for her baby, won't she? Won't she? Nana, we got grandmothers and mothers calling this thing more than anybody else, because guys, sometimes men don't reach out because we done been told to pull ourselves up by our bootstrap. Man up. Stop being this. Stop being anybody ever caught that when you was a young kid? Fall down, hurt your knee, break it all up. Man up. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Get up. And that's what we've grown up with. And I'm telling you, we use social media to keep these messages out there. Social media, you know that it is the #1 way to get things out there. So as I wrap up today, guys, please, from this point on, I'm asking you to be an advocate for fatherhood.gov. I'm asking you to be a resource user for fatherhood.gov. I'm asking you to join our collaborative community, a collaborative virtual community, because we need the voices of everybody on this. We got so many people that bring so much to the field, so much to what people need. Follow us on Facebook, catch us on Fatherhood on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, YouTube. We're all there, guys. And everything we have is for your use. So you can get to that website, you can screenshot this. There's links directly to whatever. We got video, the webinars are incredible. We got another webinar coming up soon. I just want you to know that the Fatherhood Clearinghouse is here for each and every one of you. And I know I only had till 8:25, so I want to get through this. I want to turn this back over. I think it goes back to Mr. Williams. Frank, do I come back to you, my brother?
James, we thank you for your passion. We thank you for your investment. You're committed to this work. We feel it. I just want to celebrate you for what you're doing and for touching the lives of fathers all over this country. So let's give James a big hand for his passion, his presentation. Thank you for being a champion.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate all of you. Hey, much love to each and every one of you. And I want to leave you as I come in peace. And remember, peace is always together, never apart. Have a great one, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm going to bring Tom Kelly. We're going to be closing. Tom, you got some information you want to share with the group?
Yes, the survey is in the chat room. And like I said in the chat, if you could click on the survey right now, it's only about 4 or 5 questions that helps us, even improve a stellar presentation like tonight's in the future. So go on to the chat, click on the link and fill it out.
I just want to thanks, Tom. I want to remind everyone again that we have, this is a 3-part program. We will come back together on January 24th. We're going to be looking at self and family on March 21st. We're looking at economics and social well-being with respect to the community. I want to thank all of our presenters, our panelists, dignitaries, everyone who joined this work tonight. It is a work that we are treading on. We know that it's a great work because violence, youth violence, community violence is a detriment to our children, our homes, our future, our communities. And we can't be spectators. We can't be on the sideline. We have to be engaged in this work. So join with us and let's keep this work going on so that we help to save our young people. And as we look at what happened in Virginia on yesterday, let's never allow this to happen again. So again, thank you, and thank our committee, and thank all of you for being a part of tonight's presentation. We will see you at our next session in January. Thank you so much, and good night. All right, we're signing out. Thank you again. Tom, you're going to close this out?
Closing out right now. Great job, everybody. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.